press number 1.
G'day. Okay, and we begin. So, week 1 of 9 weeks. I know we've got about 10 or 12 people who are live streaming in, so Dustin will keep an eye on questions coming through from them. What I want to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the entire program. We're going to talk a little bit today about the situation, not just with starting a business, getting your business ready, but also the venture situation in Los Angeles right now, the scaling situation, like what is it that we need to do to have a better chance of success. We're going to talk about each one of the different parts of the 9-step program to get you through to the Investor Festival, and then I'll talk a little bit about the Investor Festival itself, okay? So we're going from 11 o'clock all the way through to 4 o'clock. We're going to take a break where you can just go out like 45 minutes where you can relax and grab some lunch, do whatever else that you need, and then we'll kick back in the afternoon. So I want to start with what we, actually, let me start here. Perfect. So this is what the course is going to look like. If we go back, this is not what the course is going to look like. This is almost what the course is going to look like. I'll let Justin play that for a second. Okay, so the 9 steps are going to start with today, which is product fit. Product fit is for me, I had a conversation about this yesterday with a couple of folks, and we talked about what is it that really kills early stage businesses. And pretty much everybody agrees with this. And it's because we have this idea, we decide how the idea is going to be successful, we race ahead, we build it on the website, and then we have this website, or we have this app, or we have this something. And I was talking to Celia earlier on, and I was talking about like the first client we've ever had at the Dojo, and it was a company called Din TV. And Din TV came to us when they had already spent, I think, $1 million on their website, and it was this awesome idea. And it was before YouNow or any of these other platforms came out, where they were building this news channel where everybody interacts with the news. So the idea was, rather than watching the news, you get 20 people who are all together on a live stream where everybody can interact with each other and have conversations, and we can fight and we can interact and we can have fun. But the challenge that they had was they didn't go through the product fit. And they kind of went through the branding, and they kind of went through the market validation. But because they didn't look closely enough, neither at the product fit, nor at what their avatar looked like, they built a site which was not fit for purpose. And even though the idea and the concept was absolutely beautiful, the execution was so poor because of that the guy ended up, his first advice when he came through here, not by us, but by one of the dev guys that we were with, was you should trash your site immediately after spending $1 million. I'm like, how depressing is that? He couldn't do it, obviously, like most people can't do it. And he tried to fix and change and make it better and adapt and then have it, bring it to another place. And of course it didn't work. So now I just checked and his site is for sale on a domain site. So that's what we're doing here today. We want to make sure that your domain is not sitting on a domain for sale site in 2-3 years time. We want to make sure that we just check so hard at the beginning on your product fit, your market validation, and your branding, and then we make sure that the user flow ties into it so well that you're in a really good stage. So we're going to start. Okay, cool. Didn't happen. We're going to start with the product fit. Actually, where's Dust gone? Oh, is he? Okay, I'll wait till he comes back over. We're going to start with the product fit. Go through the other areas. We'll do one each week. Last time we did the Accelerator, we brought in a lot of speakers. So we had investors who came in, and we had great exited entrepreneurs who came in. And it was really good on one level because our people met loads of really successful people, and you got involved with investors in the local area. But it was also bad in another area because it wasn't interactive enough. So this one here, we want to make sure it's massively interactive. I'll go through general overview, general content, and then I want to get everybody engaged. Like, I want you walking away today feeling that your product fit is absolutely perfect. Hey, let's just race through, Dustin, if you don't mind. Just keep going down. So product fit, I'll just get out of the way so you can see it. Then setting milestones. This is a huge part for us. As you walk away next week, I want you having filled in your milestone plan. Every single month from here till the end of the year. How many users do you want? How many prospects do you need to get those users? How many activities do we need? What channels are we going to go through those activities? Today is Tuesday, it's 11:15. What are you going to do between 11:15 and 12:15 from an activity perspective to get you to a place where you can do it? Market validation, exactly the same. This is where we go and we speak to our potential customers. And there are lots of ways that we can do it. We can do it on a very sophisticated basis by speaking to people we know and want to talk to us and having high-level conversations. Or we can put a booth in the middle of 3rd Street Promenade and we can ask people questions. And there are ways we can do it, but we have to do it. We had Jeff Hoffman in here from Priceline before we started Priceline, and it's what he says he attributes all his success to was actually making sure that he not only booked the stuff in the hotels, but then they were in the hotels asking the questions from their people coming in and also other people on what they really wanted to try and get through. So then down to brand famous. Brand famous is a really interesting one because it used to be the time when it used to be a time actually where just you had to have a good product because it was a relatively small market. And then the brand of your product became really important. And the better the brand, the more you were known for things that were really important to the people who were buying them, the better that became. So we put together really good branding courses. Today, your personal brand is as important as your business brand, if not more important. So you don't just have to learn, how do I build a decent business brand? You gotta learn, how do I make sure that Brian McMahon is the most influential person in early stage entrepreneurship that exists anywhere from a positive perspective to our members. Now look at what that means. It doesn't mean that people have to like me in early stage entrepreneurship. It doesn't even mean that I have to be able to learn the greatest and the latest things. It means that for what I do, I need to be seen by the people who are the stakeholders in what we do on a daily basis as someone that they need to be involved with. Now, who are those stakeholders? Investors. We have to have investors engaged. It doesn't mean I have to suck up to investors or tell them they're great. Any of you who saw my TEDx talk, it specifically does the opposite. It tells them that they all suck and that they're racist and they're sexist and they're elitist. But I have to have an opinion that quietly they respect and that it doesn't do any harm to my members. Who are the other people? The influencers in the local area. People like the Chamber of Commerce, the city, so I can work with an Athan's company and make sure that he gets to the next level. That's what I have to be brand famous for. Not to be popular, not to be liked, but to make sure that I can influence with those stakeholders. It is exactly the same in every single business of yours. It's not just good enough to have just the brand of your business. So we're going to go through that in deep detail as well. We're going to then go for building a team. How do you do a team? Because as you're going through this, at the beginning, at the start, it's okay. Like, you can do this stuff yourself. It's not hard. But then as you get to kind of the next stage where you start to work on the market validation, and now you're starting to work on the brand, and suddenly your workload is starting to pile up and you're realizing, damn, this is like really, really hard. So you need to hire somebody, or you need to partner with somebody, or you need to get free people, or you need to do them all. But just hiring people is not going to do the trick. You have to start with the activities you need done, and then you have to predict the activities that you're going to require based on scaling and have these people built in. For everybody who's looking for funding, actually, how many are looking for funding in here? Okay, so about 70% of the people, cool. So for Celia, you're looking for funding.
I think we just changed.
Yeah, you're looking for more funding now. We need more money. So we're pretty much all looking for investment. So as you're speaking to the investors, they don't need you to have hired 50 people. Actually, they'd rather if you haven't. but they need to make sure that as the scale is going to happen, that you are a CEO who can manage the scale that's going to come. So as we then move to development, you notice we're not on development until the end of May. And I know many of you have developed sites already. It's okay. Like and some of you, actually hardly anybody has them, but for those of you who have developed sites or you've already got apps and things in place, all we wanted you to do between now and the end of May is just to question the steps of the process. And to say to yourself, is there something I missed? Did we miss our avatar? Did we miss something else within it that we need to change and get through with the branding? Hopefully there won't be any drastic or crazy changes, but if there are, like I would much rather you get to that crisis point now and say, we need to change everything, than in 6-12 months time after you've been trying with investors to go through it. And we're going to go very deep into the pitch perfect communication, and we're going to make sure that from the investment perspective, like a lot of times when you go to a pitch event, or let me actually backtrack. Before accelerators or expert dojos or anything like this existed, what would generally happen is you'd sit around a table, you'd sit with a bunch of people, and then you would say, oh, we're going to build a business. We've got an idea, we're going to change the world, it's going to be fantastic. And then you come up with a general outline concept, and then you go straight to a pitch competition. Maybe you hear a few other people pitching, so you learn the pitch. And I always struggled with it because it's kind of based on, it's not based on truth. So if you're getting married, for example, and you stand in front of that person on the day before you get married, you say, I love you. In that moment, it's based on truth. And when it comes to dealing with investors, it's a similar principle. If you try and fake these guys on the day that you're pitching, because we haven't fully thought through the business plan or haven't fully thought through the value prop or the product fit or anything else, then they see it. And even if you fool them, then you're only going to get to a stage where you're going to owe more people money in the future. So we want to make sure that by the time you get to the communication area, that you're in a really, really strong place where you've done the product fit, you've done the branding, and no matter what I hit you with or they hit you with, you go, okay, yeah, I get that, I know that, we've allowed for that, we've already gone through all of those points. But this is what we're going to do to counter it, to make it better. Okay, perfect. And then, Dustin, do you mind just rolling that down a tiny bit more? So then we're going to go for user growth. And again, we could start user growth on day one, and I'm not saying don't outreach to partners, don't outreach to affiliates, don't talk about your business proposal, you should. But what I want to make sure is that by the time we're getting here to the user growth, we're now aligning with the milestones that we set up on week 2. Think of those milestones as a Waze map. I love describing it like this because it's very visual and we do it every day. We go on the freeway, we're going over to West Hollywood, we click in the address and we never look at the address again. The address is irrelevant after we first click it in. All we care about is how red do the streets look ahead of us, and do we turn left, right, or straight on? That's it. And after that, the milestone map should tell us what streets to take. And we only have a problem on the milestone map if we don't hit our objectives or milestones in June or May or April or whatever our next month is. Because if we don't hit that, let's say, Celia, let's say we build the new site next month, and let's say we're trying to get 2,000 users by the end of May or June. And then let's say we only get 700 users. Well, then we know that that's either because A, the channels or the activities we chose were incorrect, which means we need to go back to the user growth and change the activities to different activities, or else we have a problem with our product, our process, or our people. And when it's our people, it's us. So this is good because you're not getting 12, 18, 36 months down the road and thinking, why is my app not working? Why is my site not working? We have it on day one. And then we're going to bring it to investment on the next one, and then the Investor Festival. The Investor Festival will be by far the biggest by a multiple of 2 times. At least this time. And why do I say that? Because if I go through the iteration, and we're going to lead up, do you mind pulling up the venture thingy-majiggy? Because I want to give you context of what we went through. I want to bring it into context of what we went through with investors here, because it's very similar to what you're going to go through with investors, right? we first opened the space and we said to investors, guys, we want to see angels, VCs, people who want to help early stage startups. What we got was a bunch of people from Tech Coast Angels who were pretending, and then there are valid people in Tech Coast Angels, just there's a lot more people who are now consultants. And they don't really have any money, but they have lots of advice to give at a price. So we had all of those people come in, but because they're all accredited investors and they're in the community, and we didn't know any better. And then the next event came, this would have been 2 years ago. Then the next event came along, but we were very happy at the beginning because we had 60, 70 investors. We thought, wow, we rock. And then we realized that none of those people were signing any checks. And actually this was a major problem within LA, is that in early stage startups, there are not enough people signing checks, but plenty of people talking. And then the next one that we did, we managed to push out a lot of the people that weren't actively investing, and we got some more people through. And then the last one that we did, we got all of these funds suddenly started turning up. The upfront ventures, the cross-fund ventures, the Goldman Sachs, and even Sequoia. They couldn't make it at the last minute, but we suddenly started having the highest tier of funds and the best investors starting to come. This time around, they're reaching out to us. And not only are we seeing people on a weekly basis, we've had about 6 VCs in the last 2 weeks, just to see specific Dojo members that we're introducing to them. But they're calling us, like Lightspeed we had here on Friday. If you know, anyone know what Lightspeed's claim to fame is? You don't know? First investors in Snapchat. Biggest investors in Snapchat. These guys have so many billions now, it's a joke. But Nicole over at Lightspeed said, we're worried about something. We're worried about the fact that female entrepreneurs are not getting enough of a leg up, so we want to help. So we already had a Women's Day, which was first or second day, always at the Investor Festival. Now we have one where it's being headed by the most influential institutional investors in the US. What does that mean? It means we're going to have like 15, 20 hardcore female investors and female VCs here on that day to see the women startups that we have. That's powerful. Who else do we have coming in? Greycroft. Biggest investor here in LA, coming in here on Wednesday, same thing. Upfront, Crosscut, Sequoia, Andreas Horowitz. We're expecting to have at least, I had a guy come in on Friday whose daddy owned a bank. He said, that's okay. You can come in, if your daddy owns a bank, no problem. He's like 40, to be fair to him, he's like 40, and he's done about 15 investments in LA this year. But they're finding us now. So I want to make sure that when you get to this stage, our commitment to you is that we're going to have a bunch of investors sitting here for the Investor Week. If you're a woman entrepreneur, you will never in your life find a place with more female VCs and angels who are going to be here. If you're a guy entrepreneur or you're part of a team, you will never find more relevant investors. But we've got to get you ready or it's all a waste of time. So I want to run through, just again, I think it's very relevant for you. I want to run through an overview from PitchBook on what the VC market is like in LA right now. It's just 10, 15 minute overview, but it will give you a really good feel as to what's going on down here. So let's just flick down a bit. Beautiful. Let's go down a tiny bit further. We're going to go through the ecosystem and everything else. And just a tiny bit further as well. Thanks. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, can we just go down to the ranking? Beautiful. Okay, so actually, I'm sorry. Just if you go up the page a little bit, and then everybody can read as well. So LA is the 5th ecosystem in the US. It's quite interesting. I didn't know that. But we got obviously San Francisco first, and then it talks here just a little bit about, you can see the activity that's just happening here. Or actually, just bring up the ranking, please. Thanks, mate. So this is where it's really fascinating. This is what I love. So you can see San Francisco by a multiple of about, how many times? Almost 100 times for the amount of total VCs that are raised. But here's what's amazing. If you come over here and you look at the total exit value, and you look at the exit value in San Francisco, it's 19 million. But if you come down to Los Angeles, we're at 11 million. So it's only 10 times. And if you look at the amount of VC rounds, so how much money is being invested into LA, it's only 9 million versus 3 billion, I'm sorry. So it's only 3 times. So what this is saying is, for me, is that sure, San Jose are ahead of us, of course they are. San Francisco are ahead of us, Boston as far as investment are ahead of us, so are New York. It makes sense, like these are the financial capitals. But then, where we are right now,
The only one in We're the only one above.
the only one above,
We're raising for like $1 billion, $2 billion.
yeah, we're the only one above. That's a really good point. But I think all these numbers are really, really strong numbers, which show that a lot of VCs, remember, PitchBook gets sent out to VCs. It's a platform that only they get to see. So if I'm a venture capitalist and I'm sitting up in San Francisco or Boston or New York, I'm thinking to myself exactly what Dustin just said there, which is, hang on a bloody second, for the amount of VC funds that are down here, all of my friends from the other cities are already the ones who are investing down here, and not only are they the ones that are investing down here, but actually the best return right now of anywhere in the US is here in LA, based on the amount of money that's invested. So that message is already out with VCs. So as an early stage startup, you should be thinking to yourself a couple of things. We can just actually jump further down that page. So you can see Washington, Seattle, Chicago, and then if you go further down, you see Austin is miles away. Like everybody talks about Austin, but it's miles down. And then just keep going a tiny bit further down. Okay, I'll leave that page up there just so you can read through it. Just so you can see it. But it's a really, really positive story. And it's only going to get better. And this is why whenever I'm in conversations with VCs or startups or anyone, I'm saying, I think we have 2-3 years. I think we've got a real, I don't know about recessions or not recessions or anything else. I feel that we're in a Rolling Stones moment. We have a 3-year period. LA is crazy hot right now. We have amazing companies coming through. We have phenomenal engineers. We have VCs coming down regularly. On Monday, on Friday, I had another VC who flew down from New York. I said, I met him in New York last week. He went up to meet VCs. And he said, let me just fly down and see. Just like that. I didn't ask. He said, you got an accelerator down there? You got startups? You got lead flow? I want to come and see you. He flew straight down, came to see us, went straight back up again. So this means this is our time. We just can't fuck it up. Like we only have 1 or 2 chances at it because it'll pass. In 3-4 years' time, we'll get saturated the same way that San Francisco got saturated. We'll have too few engineers who are able to do stuff. Like right now is our time to get the interns, the engineers, the staff, the partners, everybody in. But it is an absolute race to get it right. Okay, really good. So, what are we going to go through? Today, we're going to hit, I love product fit. It's such a damn powerful place to be where we start. And again, I want to start turning it over to everybody here, but I'll just run through the flow of the day and how it's going to look. So, we're going to look at problems and solutions that we have. We're going to look at, do we have painkiller problems or do we have vitamin problem solutions? And for those of you who haven't heard me say that before, like a painkiller problem solution is if your tooth really hurts and then you don't take a painkiller, obviously you're dead. But if you don't take your vitamin for 4 or 5 days in a row, you probably won't notice it. So is what we're providing to our customers a painkiller if it's a vitamin? By the way, a vitamin is not a bad thing, but and plenty of products became really successful based on them being semi-vitamins. But the more you are, let me rephrase it, the more aware you are of what your product reflects to the people who are going to take your product, the better position that you're going to be in. But then we'll look at the 5 whys. I struggle with many concepts in lean startup. I really struggle with the lack of branding and the fact that they don't push branding. I really struggle with the fact that they don't push business planning or they don't push milestoning and they go straight to creation, right? That's a huge challenge for me. It's something we disagree with and it's nothing to do with our curriculum. What I really like is they took a concept which goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years into Japanese manufacturing, which are the 5 whys, which go very deep into your product and what makes your product really important for customers. So rather than just saying, let's take entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurs are, let me actually put it in Expert Dojo speak. So why did you form Expert Dojo? Well, it's because entrepreneurs are failing. Why are entrepreneurs failing? It's because they don't have access to the right level of investment. Why don't they have access to the right level of investment? Well, because they don't know who to speak to. Why don't they know who to speak to? Because they're not connected in the right community. Why aren't they connected in the right community? Well, because they didn't get access to the people they were supposed to get access to. So why do Expert Dojo need to exist again? Probably not, right? So the 5 whys doesn't always take you to a place where you are. Like if you have a very specific niche that you're going after and you're solving a very specific problem, then, and our objective was never to be an introducer of investors, then maybe our entire user flow that we were going to do initially on the product was wrong. Maybe we need to change it entirely to put it in a different direction. And it's going to be for you as well. So we're going to do the 5 whys, and we're going to make sure that we go through it and everything. I think it's so fundamental to why the product, but you just have to be really honest with yourself about the whys that you're dealing with. We're then going to look at your customer avatars, which is so cool, and we're going to look at like who those customers are, why those customers are important, and how do you find out like what a customer looks like. So when you close your eyes, you know exactly what the customer is. And then we're going to go into testing. And then this afternoon, I want to do some exercises with us where we're going to look at gains and pains of your customer, if they deal with you or if they don't deal with you. And then we're going to look into slightly more desired outcomes, so things such as emotional, supportive outcomes. We're going to look at functional outcomes, we'll look at social, we're going to look at personal. I'll try and make it really interactive, but I'm going to do it with probably with whiteboards, one person by one, so we can actually go through it. By the time we finish this, it's kind of tiring, but by the time we finish it, you should see, I know what he's doing right now, because Dustin's smiling, so I'm guessing I probably have a Facebook filter. I either look like Iron Man or I look like
A panda.
a panda. So by the time we get through all of these things, so like these types of things that even Facebook and Instagram and everything, they all tie into this. They all tie into the pains and the gains of the customers. Like, why did Facebook take a perfectly good video, or Instagram or Snapchat? Like, why do they take perfectly good videos and then have to add all these extra things in there? What part of the 5 whys made that really important and got people so engaged with it afterwards? Now, why has everybody followed? Okay, so is this all, any questions, by the way? I've kind of talked for 45 minutes.
You look like a sad panda.
Sorry, dude. No questions? All pretty clear? Any concerns? No? Okay.
No, I would just say that identifying the problems, a lot of times intuitively you try to come up and identify them, but I mean, truly you have to really interact with these people that you feel are your potential customers through surveys or qualitative ways to really determine that. And how do you expect us to know those answers right away?
So that's such a great point. It is like how do we know? And you know the hard thing with surveys is surveys are really easy if you're Nike. You can go, you guys have been customers for ages, you know what Nike do, we want to do these shoes or we want to do these shoes, like what kind of shoes do you prefer? Or if you're Red Bull, what do you want to feel when you're dealing with our product? The hard thing that we have is our stuff is brand new. It doesn't exist. So we're asking people about something which cannot even be quantified or imagined by the majority of people. So it is incredibly difficult. We're going to do some exercises with each other later on. So I'm just going to make a note on this. And by the way, if anyone else, the worst thing that we can do today is just walk away and say, hey, you know what, we're gonna, not passively, but we're gonna learn and we're gonna take it in because everything is included here. It won't be, not for you. So it's really important to me that as we're going through this, if there are areas of your product fit that we're not hitting, that you stop us and you say, "But how do we know? How do we make it?" This is much more an interactive walk away with our solutions than a list of how smart and clever we are that we've included everything with product fit. Okay? But thanks. We'll definitely go through that for sure. Okay, let's go around the room, and if we could talk about our individual companies and talk about the problem solution, and then I would then love to get everybody else's feedback on whether that is a painkiller or if it's a vitamin. Okay, so we're just going to go around. Let's just go around one by one. Jose, you want to start?
Sure. So just pretty much.
Yeah. Just give us the company, and then we'll go into
How's it going, everyone? My name is Jose Montero, and I'm the CEO of Blue. We built the technology that LinkedIn wished they had. Right now, there's over 2.5 billion people on social media, and I guarantee you everyone in this room has a social media account, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, or Snapchat, or maybe even all three. But why is it that I can stand here today, and yet none of you guys even know me before I even introduced myself? Aren't we on these social media platforms to be discovered and to stay connected? And so we developed an app called Blue that allows you to connect with people within 400 feet using Bluetooth technology. And it's pretty much as easy as slapping on a name tag for the online world. You can have it in your pocket, and it'll still passively discover people around you. So it's pretty much the new way to network.
Okay, nice. Is that a painkiller or is that a vitamin? It's a vitamin? Why is it a vitamin?
You can survive without meeting people, I think, without it, but it's definitely a nice to have. We're definitely cruising.
Okay. Who believes it's a painkiller? Who believes it's a vitamin? Everybody's a vitamin, are they?
Yeah, I mean it's supplemental to other things. So it makes it really easy.
Doesn't everything start with vitamin? Because you don't know. I mean, Uber is probably a painkiller for most people now, but if someone told you the concept and initially you'd say, I could live without Uber.
I kind of think Uber's a vitamin in many cases, right? They save us money and they're quicker, but I mean we could always get around before. We didn't have we could always get a taxi.
Well, if you gave up your car, or if you stopped like improving your social skills because you're relying on an app to tell you who you should be talking to, eventually it turns from a vitamin into a painkiller.
Hey, vitamin C cures scurvy.
Vitamins what?
Vitamin C cures scurvy.
Okay.
I think most businesses have a fair mix of both.
Yeah, but the question is how much? Like a doctor coming up with a cancer treating, for example, what you're doing, Rob, if you were to stand up and say, I'm a neuroscientist and I've come up with a solution to Alzheimer's today, it's a painkiller. I think you're right, and you're right,
So-
is that we all want, and I think it's a great point, just before you answer, like, we all want our thing to be a painkiller. Like, we want it to be a painkiller immediately, but the majority of what we do are not painkillers. And that's why this area, as we go down here into gains and pains with the product fit, is so important, because a lot of the time the features initially
Right.
haven't got enough pains that they're solving.
Right. I kind of feel like it's a painkiller that has yet been discovered by the people. Because as soon as, like the telephone, the telephone, people didn't really think they needed a telephone, so it was the easiest, And then as soon as everyone started having it, it was a must-have and became, a must-have, a painkiller, a habit to build into. But, you are right, it is a painkiller as of right now, because the average person doesn't know this technology just yet. But once they do, then...
So this afternoon, when we go back into it, we're going to be going back into what are the gains that I will get personally. Ethan, yeah.
I was going to say also, I think it's a product of what the substitute could look like in the current, right? So in the current, we have some mechanism that exists to be able to meet people in network environments.
Right.
There's something that exists, but I think to differentiate from the painkiller, you need to figure out what doesn't exist at all at the end of the day.
Right.
Or we have no good solution for it at all. The Alzheimer's example, there's no alternative solution. Hence, it's a painkiller, because else you have Alzheimer's to be done.
And also, like, what do we need? So on this subject, let's say today, I need to me, just in my life, in my business life, my personal life, my pleasure life, I need to meet 3 investors, I need to meet 4 marketing people, like preferably ones that are better than just not. I need to meet 2 people who know about Cuba, and I need to know 1 person knows about such and such. So if he positioned it, that what his app did was it helped me find the 5 or 6 most important people that I need today, it's kind of a painkiller, right? Because I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to find those people.
Especially if you draw the bridge between a given meetup event that exists and you show them, display those 4 people who you never meet in the crowd and say this is your mechanism to do it.
You have to filter this.
Right.
We're going to come back to it. Do you mind just passing the mic behind you? We're gonna come back around to it, but some of this is about is what we have a painkiller, is it a vitamin? Some of it is about how do we actually position it so that people who hear about it understand what a painkiller can be, what a painkiller it can become in the future for those people. And some of it is actually about us looking at our products and saying, hold on, there's other things that we need to add into this to make it a better painkiller. But yeah, great points, thanks. Okay.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. My name is Ty, and my product is called Support Stream. And basically, like, the pain it's trying to kill is there's a lot of people on the internet who are doing amazing things. They're producing great content, and they're not making any money. And so what we're doing is we're creating a system that allows their fans, their viewers, to support them for very cheap on their part. And the core principles of the product is that the easier we make it to help, the more people who will help. And the better we make them feel about helping, then the longer they'll continue to do it. And so on those points, basically we make it very cheap. It's $1 a month, and we make it very easy. Once you've signed up, it's 2 clicks to support somebody. And then for that, you get monthly messages from the content provider that says thank you. So every month you get to feel good about yourself for doing that.
Support in what sense? Like meaning, following them on social media, or becoming one of the first users. How do you mean support? Like just.
Oh, it's $1 a month. You donate.
Every month.
Yes, you donate $1 a month to whatever artist or support site you like.
So what do we feel about that?
I think that's a painkiller. Really.
It's a painkiller, why?
Yeah. Because what he's doing is that, like, actually we were talking about it, I think with you in one of the meetups, like what I was thinking is that imagine like all these entrepreneurs with all these products that they're trying to raise funding, or like they really need the support, and there's like even like if you can bring all the entrepreneurs together to support each other, I think everybody's willing to do that because they're going through the same pain.
Yeah.
And what he's doing, I mean, I know that maybe it's not just for entrepreneurs, but it's just like for all these freelancers, that sense of community, that actually coming out there trying or donating just like $1 a month is nothing, but it can actually add up to be a lot of something for somebody that they can improve.
Cool.
So I think it's a painkiller. For me, it would be a painkiller. I would use it.
As a musician.
No, not a musician. Is that for only musicians?
No, it's for anybody.
Oh, I thought because he said for all these people who are creating content, not just musicians. for
Mainly focusing on artists, though, right?
Well, to start off with, but I mean, once people figure out they can get $1 a month from their
I mean,
users.
why just put it only for artists? It can be for any group,
Yeah, that's what Ty's saying, yeah.
you know?
Yes. So I like you.
What does everybody else feel in this? And please, everybody be really honest about what they feel, because this is how we grow.
I feel like there's already
Celia.
platforms where you can give to the people who are asking.
Yeah.
Like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, all these.
So do you find that Ty differentiated himself enough from a painkiller perspective?
Because there are those platforms already do take more than just artists. They take
Okay.
inventors and things like that.
Okay, what does everybody else feel?
Well, what's that live platform where a lot of like gamers and people go and they can pay? Twitch. So is this similar to kind of like Twitch, where you can go in and you can watch your live streams or whatever content they put in and donate?
So the biggest difference between us and a lot of those other things is that it's monthly donations. So Twitch is, I want to give you $1 right now, and then you're done. So with Support Stream, by doing monthly donations, they have a general idea of their income, which means they can plan on it. So they're not continually asking for one-time donations.
So it's giving content creators
Stability.
Does it have to be $1 or could it be $10 or $100?
No, it has to be $1. And the reason why is because we want to short circuit the decision process. So we want, like, by saying it's $1, it comes down to, it's like, do I want to help this person? And then how the help is already established.
How sure are you that you're right in your hypothesis?
I mean, pretty sure. What do you want a number? I'm very confident about it. Just
Like,
because
how do you know? So if I'm an artist, do I care if I get 3 people giving me $300 a month because they think I rock? Or do I want to wait to get people on $1 a month? I mean, have you worked out an algorithm that absolutely tells? Because I'm asking it almost in a way that I know it's almost impossible for you to know
right.
at the beginning. But it's if we're talking about a painkiller.
So I guess the way I would describe it is like, I mean, it is a bet. And so what we're saying is it's easier to get a lot of people to give a small amount as opposed to getting a few people to give a large amount. And so, I mean, the best parallel is probably iTunes. When they standardized their music, they made it 99 cents. It was successful. And so by making everything standardized, we want to do the same thing.
Okay, and then they get access to unlimited, and you're starting with artists. Okay, very
Yeah.
good. By the way, that comparison you just did, with iTunes, is very powerful. And suddenly you've moved it away from being a charity, where I want to help people, to a place where I get access to people's music I love. I know it's not just music, but people's artists that I love for a simple cost of what I would normally pay on iTunes.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's putting the power in the user, which is cool. Like creating your own dashboard of art.
Yeah.
Where you could go onto and follow, whether you're following them on Spotify or iTunes, and it's kind of music geared. But I think we were talking about maybe a painter or something along those lines, where I could have like cool art that this person keeps uploading and keeps me entertained.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about it is because we all have places we go to frequently who we appreciate. And so like, it's small enough that you can support like 10 places, and 10 places is probably all of your favorite things on the internet. And you're helping them provide great content in a way that still never really hurts you quality.
Have you seen a website, I think it's like Patreon or?
Patreon.
Yeah, something similar to this, right?
Yeah, so Patreon is a different style. Patreon is, they ask, how do you maximize the amount of money you can get per user? And Support Stream is, how do we maximize the amount of people that we can get? So it's similar in that we have similar goals, but the way in which we're doing it is very different.
So how much? So the artist probably doesn't care, and the user probably doesn't. Certainly, the artist doesn't care if they get more users with less money or less money with more users, as long as they get more money, right?
Yeah.
Or a stronger following.
What was that?
Or a more loyal following.
Yeah. So I mean, that does come down to which do you think will work? Because Patreon it's good, but it's not good enough. Like the highest, the top ranking person makes about $40,000 a month, which is, I mean, a lot to us, but for people who have millions of users, that's not anywhere near what we do. And
So here's what I'm gonna just. Sorry, go on.
Is this something that, do you have to go to the site to get the funding as the artist, or can you embed this as a feature on someone else's website, like HTML
Right.
or something in there?
It's an API, so the artist would put a link on their page.
And then you have to go to Support Stream?
Yeah, so you would click on it, you would sign up with Support Stream once, and then after that it would be, if you click on the link to support them, you say, it goes to the page, do you want to support them? You put yes, and then you're done.
Okay. So I'm just gonna ask everybody here to do what I do on a daily basis, which is I'm open every single day to our product fit changing 180. Every day.
every day people give constant feedback on how we can, what I call pivoting or changing product fit, is improving our product. Because we don't know we're right. We don't know we're right about our prices. We don't know we're right about our methodology. We don't know that we're right about the investors we bring in. We know we're on a good road, but we don't know that we're 100% right. If you say, is Expert Dojo absolutely 100% right? The answer is no. We can guarantee you it's not. But I can guarantee you that the only way we're going to get to 100% right is to take consistent feedback from people and then analyzing that feedback with a really open mind. So the hardest thing about an early stage entrepreneur is that we are so sure that everything we have is absolutely 100% right. And we're looking for two types of things to happen. This isn't Ty, this is everybody, this is all of us. First thing is we want other people to validate it as quickly as possible so we don't have to piss around trying to wait to explain it 400 times. And the second thing is that we're looking for people to come on board, to like us, whether they're investors, whether they're partners, whether there are other people that we have here as well. So I'm just thinking, while we're in this room, be really open that you could be wrong, like just out of interest. I'm just going to throw this out there because it's cool that Ty's just got it. How many people, if I'm going to say 3 groups of hands, one group of hand means that you feel his idea of $1 is the perfect idea. If I'm going to say an unlimited amount, an unset amount, you can put in anything you want, is a good idea. Or if I'm going to say to you, a fixed amount, which is based per musician, that they can negotiate it, but the musician sets it. Let me just do the first one. Number 1 is $1. How many people feel $1 is the best of those 3 fits? Okay, so we go, well, Ty, you can't vote.
Come on. My voice counts too.
Okay, what about you? You have no, you're right, I'm kidding. You have no amount that you put onto it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and how many people felt the third one, which is the artist sets the amount?
What if the user
Or the user, yeah. The user or the artist sets the amount, yeah. So we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 people, right? So I'm just saying, it's not that one is right or wrong. I'm just saying whenever you have a place where it's not clear, where everybody, like with Audible, $9.99 is the price. We know that, and we know it because it's taken them ages to get here. Or with Spotify, $9.99 is their price. Like that's it. Maybe with iTunes, with 99 cents. Was that?
What if you did it similar to like how like Indiegogo and all those campaigns work, where you invest a certain amount for a package and you get this in return? So like you give artists, you give money to an artist, you can receive like a gift or like depending on how much you put in.
But then it's going to be the same thing. It exists already. I think this concept of like $1 that because it's just so little.
And so
it's
easy.
Just like, it's so easy.
Yeah. And if you have more fans,
you can
you make more
actually,
money.
maybe I want to support 10 people. Maybe I want to support 20 people. 20 different causes.
And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, especially not you, Ty, like, I'm not saying that $1 is wrong. I really haven't. What I'm just saying to everybody is that it's, one thing I absolutely guarantee you is we do not have it right. None of us in this room have it right.
Let me add something to this, which is that I think $1 is a perfectly good way to launch. If you've got some traffic going through, then you begin split testing, which is what all tech companies do.
Yeah.
Split test the alternative.
Yeah.
And then also, what she was saying is what we're going for. Instead of giving one place $10, we'd rather you give 10 places $1.
Yeah.
Like that's, if you feel like giving more, we'd rather you help more people.
Yeah.
Spread.
Because those are
Cool.
they can.
Good. Ethan, you had something to add?
Yeah.
And then we move on to Rob.
Sure, yeah, and the thought was just, I'd argue that the UX barrier that exists there is getting people over the hurdle of wanting to pay, agnostic of what the dollar amount is. And so I think a good case study there, especially in the beginning, is when I think it was Radiohead launched their CD years ago, and they had open source pricing at that point because they didn't know what the market would command. Some people came in, and some people chose free, and some people chose $15 for the CD. But being able to utilize that data to be able to figure out what price might make sense. Because the barrier at the end of the day is, will somebody pay or will they not pay for this? And then let's figure out what the market says.
No, that's a good point, because especially like fixed pricing is important, but maybe not $1 if they're $50. Yeah. What was it?
Radiohead, is there one of their albums? I don't know.
Okay, I remember that.
I remember they did that actually, and they got huge loyalty from their fans by doing it, and they actually made more money, if I'm not wrong, for the album than you would normally make from
It's
the
not
album.
like a bunch of people came in and said, I'm gonna take this CD for free. That's not what happened at all. What happened was like $9, $10 on average per user, and they got more users than a normal launch. Like, it was pretty successful.
And I think going back to that is it's like people are not as selfish as a lot of people believe. Like, we do like supporting places that we care about, and artists that we like, and products that we do want to help.
See, I'm kind of really liking that idea. I'm like this cantankerous Irish guy that I hate that. Like, I'm the guy who goes home at night and I watch Fox News, CNBC, and CNN at exactly the same time. I flick every 2 minutes from one to the other, just so nobody's manipulating me, right? Now, everybody's manipulating me. But within my mind, nobody's manipulating me. So if you say to me, actually, Brian, you don't need to make the choice on this. Sorry, I'm not going to force you to do it for $1. You can make the choice yourself. For me, $2.99 might be the equivalent to what $1 is for you, or 99. This is good. So this whole process that we just went through is to open up everybody on your entire value prop, your entire product fit, and say, is there a different way we do it before we really push it out there and get it out? Okay, thank you for taking part in that. That was great. Do you want to do the next one?
Sure.
Thanks.
She's got
You
the
want
mic.
to do it?
Just let her-
Oh, you just let it go past you? Yeah, you do it first. Go first.
Okay, my product is detox drinking vinegar, and it's a blend of raw cold pressed juice and apple cider vinegar. They're blended together and then fermented for 14 days, so it's naturally probiotic. So it's similar to kombucha, but it's apple cider vinegar and it's fruit flavored. So people drink apple cider vinegar for a lot of health benefits like digestion, and they drink it concentrated, which is very harsh for your system as it goes down. And they also dilute it to water and add honey, which is quite inconvenient. So detox drinking vinegar is a good alternative in that it's lightly sweetened and it's fruit flavored apple cider vinegar concentrate, which is ready to dilute to water. So
you're taking something
It's
that they
delicious too.
have to drink, and you're making it tasty.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, painkiller or vitamin?
Vitamin.
An Irish tomatoes.
It's a painkiller if you need to drink it. That stuff is gross without it. So you're not going to drink it if it tastes bad. And especially when you think about children.
The painkiller is covering up the flavor of vinegar.
Yeah.
That's the pain point.
Yeah.
Sweetening the
I
deal.
mean, the painkiller is maybe like how badly we feed ourselves, the food, the drinks, the everything that goes into our system. It was really weird because, in a really good way, because I was converted by this. I had never drunk vinegar, nor seen any of the health benefits from it previously. But as we were and it was exactly the same with your stuff, as we were at the Investor Festival, and I started drinking it, it actually refreshes you way differently than anything else. It tastes delicious after you've had a few of them, and it's
Kind of
really
an acquired
healthy.
taste though.
But it is an acquired taste. So the painkiller, the way you just said it right there, it is 100% a vitamin. Like, everybody's like, okay, cool, I think vinegar is good for you, it's a vitamin. And again, when we get to the pains and gains this afternoon, and listing the pains and gains, I think it's going to be invaluable for you, because you're going to start leading with that stuff. And you're going to start leading with, here's the problem with not taking this. If you just keep drinking what most people drink on a daily basis, here's what happens to your body. But if you change your lifestyle and drink something which is delicious and is refreshing, here's what happens to you. Here's how it will help you. In a very simple, non-scientific way, so that we get it. But for now, it's a vitamin. But we're gonna try to move it, at least perceptually as you're speaking about it. And I love your point earlier on, because it's true. What we want to do is, you're right, Uber is a painkiller, for sure. Or what the hell would I do without Uber? I would never make it to the airport.
Lifestyle because of
I would be half an hour waiting for a taxi. I'd be looking up numbers and I don't even remember the last time I took a taxi. I don't even know what a taxi does
It
anymore.
depends on the city.
It's a painkiller.
Here, for LA actually it's a painkiller.
Yeah.
So like if somebody was living in New York or in London, it's just now a cheaper way.
Yeah, it's just a cheaper,
like,
better
just a cheaper
way.
way.
But for here,
Yeah.
it's a painkiller, right? So what you want to be able to do is you want to be right at the start of Uber's journey, and you want to be able to talk about Uber as it being a painkiller in the future. That's okay, but you have to paint that picture for me.
Who is it a painkiller for?
For everybody who uses it would know, like everybody. Here, Uber's a painkiller.
Yeah.
It's a painkiller for everyone. It's a painkiller for me going to the airport. It's a painkiller for the person who doesn't have a car. It's a painkiller for, like in their case, they've made it. They started off with their avatar, like Apple started off with their. We do avatars afterwards, but they started with an avatar and then they grew it out to everyone, right?
But
Yeah.
it's
senior
I think we should at least plant the seed that it's not just a painkiller for everybody though.
Yeah.
In the beginning, like, who is this a painkiller for?
So it's a really good point. We are going to get to avatars, so who has the problem, and we're going to get to that afterwards because we want to be able to paint a picture of exactly what that avatar looks
Yeah,
like.
like if
'Cause
I was
you're right,
to
it's
close
not
my
a-
eyes right now and had a Guinness in front of me and had to sell the Guinness to someone who is going to pop up in front of me in 5 minutes, who do I see? And I open my eyes and it's Brian. It's an off for me. But if you can close your eyes and just like think that you have to sell your product, service, or tech to someone, like immediately, like life or death situation, who would it be? And when you open your eyes and you can kind of visualize this person, you know, how they look, who they are, where they hang out, what social platforms they go on, then that's kind of the avatar thing that we'll work on this afternoon. But as far as the pain points and stuff go, like, have those in the back of your mind, not just like, who's this a pain for? Everyone? That's bullshit. It's not a pain for everyone. Like, I didn't start using Uber until it got popular. And honestly, I use Lyft, and so do you. So it's not a pain point for you.
No, but it's the same thing though. It's the same thing. The principle's the same.
Uber wasn't
But just
even
like-
what it was from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. Uber
Yeah.
launched actually in big cities in London, like in 2008. It was a
Exactly.
luxury car
It's very
service
strategic
at a
way
discount
to find
price.
product
Rather
fit
than
and
like
expand it to
a
everybody.
taxi or like.
So actually, it brings me to a point. We're going to come over to you in a sec. We're going to come over to you in 1 sec. I just want to elaborate just on this one point because it's actually a really good point that you bring up. Uber started as a different concept.
Absolutely.
Uber started as a taxi. Actually,
No,
it was a
car
different
service.
taxi company where people wore
High
black
end.
suits and a little black tie, and they were absolutely 100% of villain.
Yeah.
Only thing that they did was they took a service which was monopolized by a certain group of people who had yellow cars, and they added on a service which had another group of people that had black cars. That was the only thing. Then
They found a product fit in
they
that
f-
market.
Yeah, you could argue actually to the point that you were making is they didn't have a painkiller at the start. They had a vitamin at the start because their vision was on the original fit. But what they did, which was really good, and maybe billions of dollars helps you have time to do this, but they managed to keep their options really open, and they listened to their target audience to create a new product that became a painkiller for different people.
So they
I
saw
want
that,
to move
like,
on though. But
They saw that social gains from them being perceived were way higher with their audience that they were trying to get to market, which they could give them this vitamin of having being cooler, luxurious feel.
It was just a quick question. What I was trying to get the flow here. Were you saying that a lot of people who have vitamin, business, you're trying to get them to, in their head, move to a pain point?
Yeah.
You're saying that we need to have a pain point instead of just a vitamin, or?
No, the thing is, Uber would have been perfectly good as a vitamin forever. They could have had their black cars, and they could have had their guys, and they could have taken all these people who were not taxi drivers and
Sure.
put other people into a nicer car, giving them a better experience for the same price or a little bit cheaper. Like they would have been fine on that. But what they did was they searched for their painkiller, and rather than just having a small group of people dealing with a small segment of the population, they and everybody else who took the same painkiller took over the entire industry. The more
But they're an app now, right? Were they always an app? Because it's the app that made them. It's the ability as a customer from the phone. It's not the cars.
They always had the
our
app.
service, but I think the app is really the
They have-
thing that they did.
It's true, but now app is just a platform.
Right.
App is a platform, website is a platform, like a shop front is a platform. They're all platforms. This is just about how our product can move from that something that either, like, because again, just going back to the definition of a vitamin, it's not a bad thing. Like, vitamins are great. We live longer, we feel better, we have more energy, it's good. I'm just saying that if we don't take it for 4 or 5 days, people don't notice. What we want to do is, and I've mentioned this, a few of you probably haven't heard me say it. Sorry, I'll grab you in 1 second. There's a few of me who haven't heard me say it. I really like a book which is called Hooked. And Hooked is by a guy called Nir Eyal, and who I've interviewed in a few.
I guess this is, I know the whole vitamin versus painkiller thing is, it's a discussion, right, as to what everything is. And in the case of like Uber, for instance, I'm not confident that even still, in all the different use cases they have, that they've even gotten to a complete painkiller level necessarily. To me, they're a bit of a vitamin. If you look at like, here, for example, they're a substitute for having a car, for instance. But most people would probably support having a car, or alternatively take public transport if they have to do it. There are substitute goods that kind of exist. And in the New York example, New York, they brought Uber Pool and Lyft line into New York and some other alternatives to be able to be a better alternative to people who are taking public transport. But there's still an alternative that exists that's not so bad.
Yeah.
And so
I agree.
I don't even think they landed in complete, and they're still Uber.
So here's the point. Yeah. So here's the point that
that's the point.
yeah. So here's the point. No, I don't want to get caught into semantics, because Ethan's point is the correct point, which is there is no perfect product that solves every problem for everyone. That we wake up in the morning and we think, oh my God, if this didn't exist, I was dead. There are varying degrees of good products out there. What we're trying to do is get your product to a place where it is the absolute maximum impact on your avatar that it can possibly be. That's all we're trying to do. It's not about being a perfect 10. It's about going from a 3 to a 4 to a 5. It's about making sure that you wear different socks in the morning, that you wear different trousers. Like, you don't have to buy a $5,000 suit. You just have to make an effort to continually improve your product. And the death knell of 90% of startups is that we do not do that. We have our product, we put it on an app, and then we at the Dojo get hundreds and hundreds of emails from people saying, nothing's happened with our product for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Users are not coming on board. We're not acquiring the right people. That's what we want to stay away from. So I love that point. This is not about the perfect product. It's about perfecting your product. Cool, thanks for that. Hey.
Hi, I'm Lana Manganello, and my company is KidSpot, and we're a...
Spell your name for me.
Lana, L-A-N-A.
L-A-N-A.
Mm-hmm. We're a pop-up childcare service that offers enrichment programs on-site at businesses, hotels, and homes. And I started the company in 2016, and that was the first application just to bring it to market. Ultimately, I'm building the first brand in temporary childcare or babysitting, creating an education platform for caregivers so that they can get credentialed, and creating a standard of care so that there's resources for people interested in babysitting, temporary childcare, and ultimately transitioning that to a platform for parents to be able to hire educated caregivers and have an expectation of what they're about to encounter.
Okay, so we're not on avatars yet, but I am interested to know, like, what does your avatar look like? Who are the types of people who are going to need you the most?
So I have a 2.5-year-old, and of course I've created the company perfectly for myself. So I think anyone, that's a new parent that there's not a lot of places to find babysitters aside from getting referrals. I mean, there's platforms where you can find people, like a variation of Craigslist, of people who are interested in caregiving. So for me, it would be anyone who's hiring a babysitter because they have children from the age of 0 to 12.
Okay, and then you find locations. Is everybody clear about this? Or
Probably not, because there's a lot going on. But so for me, the first initiation of this was just to test what's happening in the market and how people feel about hiring caregivers, and for me it was about building brand awareness and credibility. So we've partnered with brands that have some credibility, but ultimately that's not what the business is in my mind. It's a platform where you can go as a person interested in having a credential in babysitting to get educated, and for parents to be able to find those people.
I don't have a baby, but I have a lot of friends with babies. So is it like a last minute replacement? Because usually the
So
people who have babysitter, they have a babysitter. But everybody has a problem, and last minute they want to go out to dinner. So like I actually was always thinking why there is no such a service as this, as you can actually trust the platform for somebody to come and take care of your baby for 3 hours and you want to go to dinner. So is it like kind of like that?
Yeah, so initially it's for people in a bind and for people coming from out of town. So if you're here in LA for a conference or a wedding, you don't have babysitters. But ultimately it's if you have a babysitter and she doesn't, there's something that you want her to learn or to master, or at least to be conscientious of. So as a parent, it's hard to say, okay, read this book because I'm interested in you, applying this kind of philosophy with my child. So it's not only for kind of the temporary babysitter, but ultimately for your nanny, making sure that she, shares the same philosophy as you do without having kind of that confrontation that's necessary when you're dealing with a caregiver.
So like
to tell them you're doing this the wrong way, you're instead pointing to something else that says, this is how I want you to do it.
So, and the place you want to get to, by the way, is you don't want anyone to ask you any more informational questions about what you do. You want them to say, oh wow, that's cool. How does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want them to almost, like you want to be able to explain it in a way, in a sentence or two, where everybody gets it immediately how it would be a painkiller. I'm still a tiny bit confused. I feel it might be a university for babysitters, whereby let me rephrase it, it's almost like a Michelin 5-star for babysitters. So I know that if a babysitter has been accredited by your site, then that babysitter has gone through the courses needed to be a good babysitter or a good child carer. Is that right?
Yes. So it's, the basics and then beyond. So if you wanted a child care giver that could teach your under 5-year-old Spanish or Chinese or whatever, they'd have like credentials beyond kind of the basics.
Okay, Jose?
In the beginning, did you mention how you have like pop-up sites for babysitting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so would that be your focus, or is it more of an educational?
No, so that's not scalable or profitable. So that is not my focus, but I felt like initially that was required. So that, coming to market as I'm an authority in childcare wouldn't make as much sense as partnering with, the Four Seasons and Whole Foods and these companies that we're working with, and, getting their kind of vetting on the forefront before we're presenting ourselves to parents and caregivers.
Okay, we're going to spend a bit of time on this because the value prop comes from it's not even so much the explaining it. A lot of the time, actually, when we're all going through product fit, change and movement, especially when we try something and then we change it, and it's not that we're moving away, it's that we're learning and that we're adopting the platform to become something new. It becomes confused with a lot of other things, and that's rather than me say it, how many people are 100% clear on exactly what the platform does? Like, nobody really. So we're going to work on it, and we're going to help you get there. Like, that's what this is all about. This is a really hard thing to do. You're creating something that didn't exist before. I get the concept, and I think everybody does, of the area that you're in and how you're helping that area and how quality control is a really important factor. Especially, like, I got a little boy, I trust nobody. So quality control is like really important with anybody that I'm going to let near him. So I get what you're trying to solve, but we need to take it to a place where it is so sharp on, oh my gosh, I can see exactly a person who needs that. Okay, well, come on. Celia, are you ready yet?
No.
Okay, we're still going to do it, but just take a minute to take 20 minutes as we're going around everybody else to pull together your new product fit. So, do you mind if I share a little bit on what we went through?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I want to talk a little bit about Celia because I think it's going to help everybody else in here as well on what we went through this morning. So we sat for an hour and a half this morning and we looked at a product fit that we already have. Now, what Celia's working in is an amazing space. It's one of those purpose-filled spaces which has got the ability to earn a bunch of money, but it's really difficult to do. She's creating a TV channel for indigenous content. And here's the crazy thing about indigenous. It's like indigenous is a niche market because damn English and Spanish and Portuguese and stuff. Anyway, keep me away from that. But it's a niche market because the amount of Indians that we have here is obviously not that many. The amount of Mayas and Aztecs that are down in Mexico, there are loads, but they don't form the ruling population that decide what's on TV or decide what we see and what we hear every single day. In Ireland, how many Celtics do we have? Probably have a few real ones, but the rest of us all became Anglified after whatever amount of years that they were hanging out in our country. So, what do we have? We have something whose time has come, which is to talk about where we came from, what our roots are all about. So we looked initially and we said, great, we've got this TV station, we're going to put it together, we're going to look at a platform which is exactly like Netflix. Everybody's interested right now in where we came from, what it's about. There are all these groups that are doing these really strong things, whether it's the Indians up at the, or the tribes up at the pipelines, trying to deal with those specific issues. Or in Alaska, you've got other issues going on, and in Mexico, you've got others, all over the world. And there's more of an awareness now of the individual people. But we struggled with the product fit, not because putting together a channel is not an amazing thing to do, not because people wouldn't watch it, not because she doesn't have amazing content, she's a great filmmaker and a great producer that can put together this content, but because we start at the money. We always start at the money. We've got to decide right at the beginning, is what we're doing a hobby or is what we're doing a business? That's why next week we're going to look at milestones. If we can't create the milestones that we want to create by the end of this year, then we should give up our business. I'm not saying if you can't get $1 billion or $1 million, I'm saying we should give up our business and we should call it what it is, which is an amazing hobby and a purpose-filled hobby that we should continue doing forever. That's how important your milestones are to get done. Now, if you enter with that philosophy and you say, I am going to create, let's say, $5 million, I need to raise $1 million in money, which means that I need to have a company valued at $20 million in 5 years, or whatever iteration you have of that. Some of you are not raising money, so you don't need to do that. But if you are raising money, you need to be able to show a straight line to a $20 million valuation minimum, just for them to get their money back. Now, once you get to that, you then say, okay, I'm either getting a lot of users or I'm getting a lot of revenue, depending on how my model is set up. I'm either a SaaS platform, like Ty, you're a SaaS platform for musicians and artists and everybody else to be able to get money through. But for the rest of us and for you, you're a subscription-based platform to do it. So we started at the money and said, how much money can we make from this in 3 years' time so that we can convince investors to give us $500,000, like right now? how much can we actually get to? And we looked at the subscription model on our own channel, and we thought, this is going to be hard. We can get money on Amazon, yeah. We can get money on Hulu, yeah. We can get money on Roku, yeah. But we can't get enough money between those channels and between the other channels for our business to be a multi-million-dollar business. So we started to come up with some ideas on the product fit, on how we move the product fit, not 3 years into the business, but before we build the website. Any ideas as to the place that we came to? And then I'm going to share with you the place that we came to, and I would appreciate your feedback so we can make sure we're in the right place.
Just to be clear, this is specifically for Native American content?
Yes.
Indigenous, not
Indigenous.
indigenous of the entire world. So everybody
Indigenous.
came from somewhere.
Here, let me turn that on for you.
And is it the language? What's the language barrier? Or
Initially, it's English.
Initially, it's English, everything is subtitled, but Spanish being very close behind.
and people can, is it original produced content or user generated content?
So it's currently original produced content.
From all over the world, though, not just from me.
So people submit their ideas and they pitch their ideas, and then you fund those ideas, kind of the way Netflix takes their $9 a month subscription and funds their own original content.
No, currently I license content. I don't pay for it. I just license it, and it's a rev share.
Okay, and so
I have a couple, and maybe where we could be somewhere completely different.
Okay.
The first thing that dawned on me was partnerships with travel sites where there's going to be demographic overlap, and they may want to see this content to influence them and push them over the purchase hurdle.
Yeah, that was the first place that we started, actually last week, to try and see how can we get them to actually start driving content through.
Yeah, and I was thinking B2B on the dollar side of things, have that pay for the content. That was one. Travel guides were one off of that as well, as a content feature to that. And then it also dawned on me that that last piece of what was being asked about user-generated content instead of having to create all the content yourself, but rather enable other people to be able to create the content in our world.
Okay, so great. So that's where we ended up.
Yeah.
So really interesting, right? Because you've come to the same place. It's so hard to create your own content all the time. It's so hard to get money within the content that you have. But all of the great platforms today are based on user-generated content. So we came to the brand of same tribal TV, but now it's one world, one voice. Everybody having their authentic voice about either their origins of where they came from, which is how she can start it and get it going, but also everybody going on holidays, to your other point. So if my little boy, who wasn't born in Ireland, goes to Ireland and he goes there, his dad was born in Ireland, so his roots come from Ireland, so he wants to give the indigenous story, the tribal story, his tribal story of Ireland. User-generated content, we can build it up really quickly. It's a fun, engaging way to do it. We get short 2-minute videos maximum. People log their travel stories, and it gets us closer, and it doesn't mess with the original purpose of exactly what CD is looking to do, which is to shine a light, shine a lantern onto indigenous populations everywhere and say, man, this is your culture, this is the world, this is where everybody came from. Don't you want to know more about this? It's cool. And you just got to the same place. So with everyone, so firstly, what does everybody feel about that idea as opposed to the first idea, and any comments? Ty, you got something? No. Okay. Anybody else? You like it? Don't like it? Jose? You got anything?
Well, the idea is interesting. Yeah, it would just be like a competition getting something like that started.
Competition?
No competition. It's like
Right, it's the execution. But it sounds fascinating.
Well, I didn't quite understand the TV, like, so a TV channel with actual documentaries,
going to. That was the original idea, was to put a TV channel with documentaries, which is a beautiful product fit and is absolutely fit for purpose, but it can't make the money that we need to make.
Why not have both? So let's say separate dashboard for like these short movies, because I think that's a really cool idea.
So it's funny that you say that, because where we got to just after, because that's exactly what Celia said. She said, well, I've got all this content and all this great original content. So we decided, rather than making the content the center of what's going to be on the website, we thought we'll make the content marketing for the website. So we still put the content on Roku, still put it on Amazon. They're places we make money from anyway. We still put it over on Hulu. We still put it on other platforms, but then those platforms all drive the traffic to the main site, which will become an app, which allows everybody to have their indigenous voice heard.
And how do you determine that? Like, is there like a questionnaire that they have to, like, so if I travel to, I don't know, South America and I'm not from there, I'm not allowed to share my story?
You are, but you're going to share the story about South America, about the tribe of the area that you're going to, and why it's why your trip was so awesome because you went to this tribe. So it's a more culturally, more spiritually deep type explanation.
I mean, it could be that people choose what, because I mean, not everybody, maybe like some people want to do the cultural part, some people want to do the history, maybe somebody has, I'm an architect, so from my thing, I always thought it would have been great. More interactive way of just like reading what I've seen on Instagram. So it's like more like short videos, and now everybody can make a short video.
And now here's what's fascinating. We haven't got to Avatar yet, but now our avatar has entirely changed. Because before it was only indigenous people, it was only a small group of people who were speaking in a microphone to everybody else, and most people won't listen as they don't do normally. And you have the same problem that I had with CNN and Fox and everybody else. But now it's everybody's voice talking about what's important to them about different places in the world. It's cool. So do we have validation that she's going in the right direction on the making it interactive, or does anybody feel no? Because it's okay. You should all disagree and you should all try and help. Like, our objective is best product fit for everybody.
Well, I think it needs to be much more razor focused on how you start.
Okay.
How you start is not really relevant so much as you need a singular message. Like how, because we're all talking about what you can do once it gets launched. It's like there's obviously huge possibilities, but you have to have a very narrow focus to launch first. You can't do it on, look at all of the possibilities you have to succeed at this. We need something that will succeed right now, grow to that point, and then expand on that. So you gotta drop a lot of those things and focus on one to get going.
So it's just the site is only a place where 3 milestones: 1,000 people, 100,000 people, 1 million people. 1,000 people by website gets launched by June. 1,000 people within a 2-month period have all posted a 2-minute story about a place in the world where they talk specifically about how either they are from a tribe and the impact of that tribe, or how they visited a place where that tribe is important. Is that what you're saying? And then you expanded it there, or are you saying?
I mean, it's how you started, just take it from there. Right? And then also the other point is, it doesn't sound like you really need a lot of money to get started. It seems like there are ways to do this fairly cheap to get you off the ground. And then once you have more established, you can
I have an idea. So let's say if they're like her ultimate goal is to have that food story about like this place or so all these people who visited or they have something to do with that place. But you have to kind of like create a motivation or like incentive for these people to. And why would I go there and 2-minute video, I'm so busy, and maybe I want to see some stuff. But if you create this platform and say, you know what, if you post your video and we watch it, and if your message is really like gets the more click or the video is watched so much, you're gonna come into a bigger production. So the production that we're gonna make, your voice is gonna be one of the background voices. So like, let's say somebody's a food, I mean, I'm gonna talk about bloggers or influencers because that's my, but imagine like a food blogger. I mean, I'm following a food blogger that now it's in South America. If she thinks that if she posts that 2-minute video, maybe eventually it's gonna be in a bigger production, and she's gonna have some feedback or more exposure or something out of it. That creates kind of like
I love this idea, and Ethan mentioned this earlier on. If you partner with even a travel company and you say at the very beginning, look, why don't we just get a trip to, I look, Machu Picchu is kind of my place. Like, I haven't been there 10 years, but when I was there 10 years ago, it rocked, right? So if you said, if I saw there, anybody who posts and puts like the best post over a period of time is going to get a free trip to Machu Picchu where you document your story as you go there. Like, that's the kind of thing you're talking about,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
Bigger production is based on all those stories that are coming in than just watching a documentary.
And it costs you nothing to do that because you partner. A travel place will do that in 2 seconds. That's a great idea. And actually, the really funny, so Sophie's right beside Celia right now, rewriting the business plan and redoing it to reflect exactly what we're doing today. Like, that's how this thing works. Ethan, you got a point?
Yeah, I guess my main flag that I think I see here is brand and kind of the trajectory of this thing. And so this is the challenge when you have user-generated content, right? So you have a brand you're trying to establish with a channel around it, and it could go unwieldy really fast. And so I think from a user adoption standpoint, which is your avatar point, I think your avatars in the beginning probably look different than maybe what it becomes. Because you almost need to establish, you just select your avatars really tightly almost to make sure you establish the brand and the guardrails around it, so that everyone who follows on make sure that they have something that's kind of in that space more or less. Else this thing, the flip side of that is you can let it naturally evolve and see whatever happens. But you know, Celia, that's what Celia's her name? Celia may land with a channel that doesn't look like what she wants it to look like.
It's pretty interesting.
If you don't choose your avatar, your early adopter avatars really deliberately.
So let's move on to avatars then. We've done enough painkillers and vitamins, but let's move on to avatars, and then we're going to move on to timing. Who's your avatar, to Aiken's point?
Well, going back to my original, which I believe is the lovely, connected person who probably has a smartphone and is used to doing, these live Facebook and Instagram stories already. So 18 to 34, and who want to know who they are and where they came from, and want to know more and invest more into that.
Isn't kids, I mean, maybe, look, I only say kids because I just watching my brother-in-law's kids was playing with my kids. They're all like 11, 12, 13. They're documenting everything on video. But I know if so my boy was feeding back to Swell, and he said, so if you make it really relevant to 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds, and if you could also have more likes, because we really like to have more likes, so we can show that we have stuff. But if he felt that he could win a holiday for me, I'm not saying it is for 10-year-olds, I'm just, this point is a really important point because whatever demographic you go for, with 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds, you could blow it up or you could destroy it. With 40-year-olds, you could make it too old or not old enough, and you could destroy it, and so on.
When the brand is going to cascade off of that, right? Over time, it's going to evolve with that brand. And so your follow-on avatar, your follow-on users are likely going to be mimicking your early users to some extent. And so it's almost a market sizing question, right? To some extent, a brand and market sizing question of where's the biggest market opportunity.
Yeah, I like that.
And that fits within the brand. And that's your early adopter, I think.
Yeah, what do you think, Sia?
Yeah, we also talked about, yes, good, which I don't know yet, but.
But what do any of us think? Who do we believe that her perfect avatar is? What does the perfect avatar look like?
I mean, right now, like there's so many mixed babies that these are going to be all teenagers in the they all want to know where they come from because they're half and half or one quarter here. I mean, my friends, maybe it's like pretty much 80% of them are mixed.
Yeah.
And they want to know, like, so maybe they, at certain point in their life, they gravitate towards a certain culture, then they want, and they actually kind of like build character based on that. So
Yeah.
I think it can be something that maybe now, like, can be marketed towards a different audience and eventually evolves to that point where, like, as you said, when an 11-year-old is traveling to Ireland, like, I'm like following some of my friends' kids and they're like 10, 11, and they're so proud of their origin, like when they go back to Tehran, let's say, they like, so it can actually evolve eventually to what she wants it to be. Originally, I don't, right now we don't have enough of mixed babies.
I think it's true. Look, I was saying the same thing this morning. Like, you know, and it's the parents who drive it. I mean, we're the same. Like, my missus is Spanish. I'm Irish. I mean, she believes Spanish is the greatest place in the world. Obviously, she's wrong. You know, I tell her about Ireland and like the fact that he could like dream of being Irish if maybe he works a bit harder at it. So like, parents are all messed up like us, and we do this stuff. And so by the time the kids get to 13, 14. It's important, like he wants to go to Ireland now and talk about how he's Irish.
Or maybe even connect with the half Irish kids in the area and like find each other and you know, social, it can even become a social platform eventually. But
you see how hard the avatar is? One second, you see how hard the avatar is? It's so damn hard. Like we're talking about 12-year-old kids. When did you think that 12-year-old kids could even possibly be even a part of your audience? They have to ask their parents for permission, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So, but you get it right, you own the 12-year-old kids, you're a millionaire in a year's time.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else.
They're the most persistent
So are you
shoppers.
so for the website we should beta test
Well, what do you think?
demographic?
What were you going to suggest?
Well, I was going to say is that I think you need more than one avatar. I mean, the parents are the big influencers, and the avatar shouldn't just be the end user. You need to consider, you know, the parents and to target them and do your, you know, research with them as well.
I think you go into that. This one's on. You have to pick a avatar to start off with, but it is a good point. Your avatar is never the kids, it's the parents.
That's right.
This one's more right. They control the
Well, when you're going to do your marketing, you're not necessarily going to market to the 12-year-old kid all the time.
It's like the old Spice commercial, where they realized that men weren't buying deodorant, women were. And so they had that commercial where they're like, your man can smell like me. And that was wildly successful because they realized the wise women were the money.
That's right.
So I think to that.
So you have to have two messages, one for the parents and one for the kids.
So you got to be like, yeah, your avatar would be parents who you want to teach about.
Parents have to talk about it.
You want to learn about things. But I mean, again, there's a lot of things like you could also do travel sites. Something I would be interested in, like if I'm going to a country, being able to watch content that teaches me about it. Like that'd be fascinating. So you have content, but you gotta pick one of them. You have to be simple.
So you have this for yourself later on, but everybody else, please, the same. Really look at your avatars. When we first started, we were sure, and by the way, your avatar is not your only people, to your point. Like we deal with, well, obviously we have New York now, we have Vancouver, and we have here. Our age range goes from 19, 20 through to 70. Our genders are absolutely mixed. Our ethnicity is exactly, I mean, you can just look in here, we're everywhere, and we're the same in New York and everything else. But I'll tell you something interesting. When we started, our avatar was a 22 to 24-year-old guy who lives in Santa Monica. That's who it was. Middle class guy in Santa Monica. Our avatar today is a 38 to a 44-year-old woman. We love them because it's a very easy fit. And it's a fit. And I'll tell you why. It's because a 38 to a 44-year-old woman, and it doesn't matter 35, 30, 37, right? Just the general area. They walk in and they say, here's the areas that we're really good at. This, and this. Here's the area that we're really struggling on. I want you to quantify exactly what you're going to do in these 4 areas. Hallelujah. You know how much time that cuts off our job? We can do both. But you know how much time, how much easier that is when we're dealing with that? It's perfect. So your avatar is it's not exclusive to everybody else. Those people are just the people that you know are easier for you to get a viral interaction with everybody else. Great, thank you, Celia, for letting us do that. It was really important. And that was useful for you, right?
Huh?
It was useful for you. Okay, great. Let's look at timing when we talk about yours. So we've looked at I want to just look at market changing. And let me introduce timing and why it's so important. There's a really interesting TEDx talk by a guy called Bill Gross, who owns Idea Labs over in Pasadena. You've heard of Bill Gross? Most people have heard of him. Have you? Or at least Idea Labs, right? These guys are pretty successful. They've brought a bunch of companies through. They're really well known. They've been around for about 20 years. He exited out of huge companies before, has had great successes all the way through. So he did a TEDx talk. And the TEDx talk was about what does a successful company look like? And they went through every company that had gone through their accelerator. And because they'd been around for 20 years, they were able to look at all of the areas. And they looked at experience of the founder. They looked at training and education they'd gone through. They looked at access to great coaches and mentors of everybody that come through. And remember, they'd gone through the accelerator, so they knew all of this. They looked at access to money. How much money do they have? And they compared those who had $50 million and those who had $50. They looked at the team itself. How deep was the team? What areas did they have covered? They looked at the product and the product fit. But they found that one thing was absolutely, without question, the defining principle of the success or non-success of a company, which is a little bit depressing, but it's timing. It's timing. They looked at, and even the companies that had gone through, like, what made this company on a Tuesday become really successful here, and what made another company, like, and it's not even the fact that, Twitter were falling until Donald Trump came in, and suddenly Twitter go back up again. But you can look at so many examples. Like look at cupcakes, and the way cupcakes became really popular about 5-7 years ago. Cupcake stores everywhere. There was a huge gap in the market for cupcakes. But then everybody took advantage of it. And then they reached the second stage, which is how do you then stay competitive? Because now there's too many people in the same space. And if you don't adopt and change, then you're going to die. But initially, it was the timing of the market. It wasn't because this was a great cupcake maker or this was an amazing person here. It was because the market was ready for it. You could argue the same things with the recent decline of Meerkat and Periscope. Their timing, while it seemed absolutely perfect, it was probably a tiny bit too late. Because Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and everybody else was able to come in and copy them really quickly. So their timing for something which wasn't that proprietary needed to be 6 months earlier. If it had been 6 months earlier, they probably would have exited worth billions of dollars. While today, they probably won't exist in a year's time.
Why do you think that? Do you think, Facebook was going to knock it off anyway, or they would have bought them? Like, what if they had already been at Periscope, for example?
Periscope, yeah. So they didn't have a technology that was proprietary, right? So anybody else can come in. So it was a question of getting there first and positioning yourself strongest. And they probably needed an extra 6 months. It wasn't 6 months or 3 months or 12 months, I don't know.
Right.
But they just didn't have enough time to position themselves in that place. And then as soon as Facebook came in and went head to head with them, they became irrelevant. And there are probably a million other ways of dissecting it and saying that maybe they should have had certain...
They proved the concept and then Facebook added.
Yeah.
Could they have, I don't know.
Yeah, there could have been ways that it could be done, but within their recent demise, it's probably a lot of it's to do with the fact that they just didn't, they just were maybe a little bit unlucky with the timing. Maybe it was one of the factors. 6 months earlier, it could have been here. So timing is really, really important. For some of us, it's not vital. It's not the make or breaks of our companies, but for those huge successes, look at almost every single one of them, they're right there. And whether it's Google, it wasn't that there was no other search engines around. There were search engines that were coming at the right time, but they were at absolutely the right time. Facebook, my God. Like there hasn't been another social network really since Facebook. right, that's probably not true, but not to the significance that they actually created, because their timing was so perfect. There was nothing and there needed to be something, and they caught it in a moment in time, and if they had done it a year later with exactly the same thing they put in place, they probably would have failed.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I think Facebook was interesting because I mean, there were already social networks, but they were so clumsily done.
Yeah.
And Facebook did it clean.
In an environment that they controlled. So their timing for what their specific product fit was, that was so beautiful about Facebook. It was Soho Club. You know how big the waiting list is for Soho Club? You know what Soho Club is, right? Private club over in Hollywood. They got it. You know the waiting list is 35,000 people. You know how hard it is to get into Soho Club? I'll tell you how hard, right? My wife has got 1.5 million followers on Facebook. 1.5 million followers. She can't get in. That's how hard it is to get into Soho Club. So what do they do so well? Their timing to create a private club. Facebook just did it in the universities. Nobody could get in from outside. They created an exclusive social network for people who didn't want to mix with people outside that space. And then they only decided afterwards, right, to allow it to outside.
So what I mean the point is it wasn't just timing, they weren't just at the right place.
Oh, I agree. Look, you know, if you have the right timing and a shitty product, or you have the right timing with a poor user experience, or the right timing with a poor team, unfortunately with the space that we're in, and thank you for bringing it up because it's important. There's no one fact that actually guarantees it, but there are distinguishing factors that make a disproportionate difference to other factors. So yeah, you need a great team. Yeah, you have to have a nice user flow. Yeah, you have to do it properly. Like if you do the product badly, it's not going to work. But the timing was pretty perfect for what they were doing.
Well, also, like, I mean, I think timing is basically before the areas that conquered and after, because basically
Before the what?
Before the fields had been conquered. So like social media hadn't been firmly established.
I like that.
But Facebook did, so now you can't come in, you can't use Facebook. But so it's not like getting the right day, it's not the right month. It's just like this is the field that hasn't been done.
Yeah, I like that. Or it hasn't been disrupted to a sufficient level. Or maybe it has been disrupted, but there's a sufficient, it's hard. It's not even as specific as that. Because if you're cycling and you're in the lane and the guy in front of you is carrying you with their wind, and you can go with that, it's okay that that person's conquering it. Normally, the first company that conquers a space is not the company that wins.
Yeah.
Normally it's second. There's 100 of them, right? There's normally second. Facebook are a very specific example.
That was MySpace before.
Yeah, Friendster, like you had all of those guys around. And
Yeah, like Airbnb before, like 5 years
Yeah.
before was couchsurfing, still is, but I mean.
yeah, I mean couchsurfing did great, but Airbnb came into a different space. Like they didn't come into the same space. So it's also your product fit that we're doing today is really important. But if you don't have the product fit with the right timing, even with great product fit, it's really hard.
But I guess the main point is like it's not about being first. Don't
I
worry
agree.
about first.
I agree.
Better not to be first, actually.
Better not to be first. I agree.
Second or third.
Yeah.
That depends. Network effects. So you get a strong network effect, increase the market, get the whole thing. I see that.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you take Uber to your point on apps, then Uber couldn't have existed, couldn't have done what they did today without the technology being available. So in their case, it was just technology. And I like this discussion because it's not about first to market or second to market or third or fourth or fifth or anything. It actually has nothing to do with that. It's that the timing is absolutely right to make the greatest difference that you can make within a specific area right now with the product that you have. That's all. Right?
So you're talking about like the book The Outliers, right?
The book what?
The book The Outliers.
Okay.
So in that book, he talks about how like Steve Jobs is an outlier because he grew up around the technology when he was a kid and in high school or middle school. He had access to a computer that not many other students had.
Yeah.
So he was in the right moment, the right time, kind of plays it out. And so like Steve Jobs' outlier, Mark
We get up at the same time in the morning, we get out of bed at the same side of the bed, we go into the bathroom, we do the same things in the same sequence, we go downstairs, we have our cereal normally in the same sequence to the other things that we do, we put on our shoes, we walk out the door, we lock the door in the same way, we go down to our car, we leave. Like most of our lives we're asleep, for the majority of people. And that timing for those specific types of people, which is us by the way, that timing we notice. We're not asleep, we have our eyes open. But sometimes we get clouded by our personal purpose, right? We want to do something so much and we feel it so important that we're not taking enough notice of the timing itself as being a really, really important factor for something being successful. And could Steve Jobs have been successful 20 years beforehand? Maybe he could have, but damn, his timing was good. He walked into a mobile phone industry, his timing was good at all of them. Mobile phones was an antiquated, monopolized industry where the providers had never given away phones, never charged $900 for a phone. Can you believe what we do? No, but he realized that he was walking into a time where style and balance and actually having accessories were incredibly important. Right then, right there, and he realized that everything else was bland and awful. And he found his avatar, who were the specific, geeky, loyal people who would take his product and never ever move away from it. You know, another company that does that, Ruby on Rails. You listen to the guy in Ruby on Rails talk, did the same thing. He went into the coding space where most coding is bland and boring and not robust, and he created an entirely different way of looking at it. And then his company, I've heard him speak when he was up on the stage with Twitter, and he was on the stage with a bunch of companies, really big companies. And he says, you know the difference between me and these companies? These companies never have made money in their life and they never will make money in their life. That's the difference between me and them. And he's standing beside like 4 multi-billion-dollar CEOs right beside him. Because, it's to your point in outline, he realized that mediocrity, you can get there if you build a company and you get a lot of money and you buy your way to the top. But if you have to create something really special, like Jobs did, or like Zuckerberg did, then it has to be really special. Like honestly, how special is Uber? It cost them $5 billion to make a company that still loses money. I think I could do that. Give me $5 billion. Amazon, how special are Amazon? Oh, friggin' well done, guys. It only cost you $3 billion. Awesome. 15 years or 12 years to make money. Oh, you're the biggest platform in the world today. Well friggin' done. They're not outliers. These jackasses are venture capital based henchmen who just take a company, lose as much money as they can for as long as they can, and then they call it a $50 billion company. Like WeWork, no disrespect to them because they built up something great, but that's a friggin' joke. $20 billion? They're not outliers. Like those people just, when they found, what they did is, and what these people do is, they notice that there's a moment in time that they can take advantage of. So Amazon knew that the world was going to move towards online shopping. They just needs to be able to buy everybody else's chips for long enough on the table so they can stay at the table.
And what's up with them going back to brick and mortar? Now they're
By the way, we have Amazon Web Services for anybody for like $3,500.
Yeah, free.
So if you use Amazon Web Service, just let us know and we can go.
Yeah.
They're not that bad.
What is it? Sorry, say again?
They're jackasses, but they
Yeah, Amazon, they are great. A strong provider, supporter of Expert Dojo. I'd like to thank all of our friends out there. No, but just like
credits, Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, Amazon Web Services is really good. If you use cloud, you need cloud credits. We're going to build in a bunch more of those types of things as well. And look, I love the timing. The timing conversation is a great conversation. For me today, there's like 4 or 5 topics I really want you to take away, and I want, like, through the discussion of everybody's business, I want you to take these topics as gold for yourself. The problem solution, how do I turn this into as much of a painkiller as it can become in the future? And then when I'm having conversations with VCs, partners, everybody else, how can I show it as a painkiller? And then as we're moving towards timing, like how do I show? There's a really important slide in the book Pitch Now, which is why now. And what Aaron says is two important slides. Pitch anything, I'm sorry. He says there's two important slides which I fully love and endorse. One is why me, and the second one is why now, that we should all have in our pitch deck. The why now is super important. It's a little bit like Ethan's point on the problem solution being a painkiller. It doesn't need to be a 10. It's not about having the most ultimate thing. It's just about Larry Page knowing that people are going to need a better way to search stuff. And it's coming, and somebody's going to do it. Or about Steve Jobs realizing that just the usual computer, like look at this room, this is crazy. Like we hardly have anything that's not an Apple. And he just brought us all slowly, all the way through the years. So how do I make sure my time is best? What's that?
Well, I just wanted to comment on that something like with my company. So why now is because I'm realizing that everyone here is on social media, like LinkedIn. I would love to connect with all of you guys right now on LinkedIn, but what do I have to do? I have to go to each and one of you individually and ask you, what's your name and what's your name on LinkedIn so I can find you up in search. So I've realized that in this time and age, in the digital age, that everyone is now online to where why do we have to hide our identities behind our phones? These phones are now have the capability to be beacons to be able to share your information when you want to be public to the people around you. And so the timing I believe with this is like we're not here to compete with any other social network. We're here to really just help the other social networks grow and help that network externality. Because that problem occurs not just with the LinkedIn crowd, but also millennials. Nowadays we don't even ask for phone numbers. It's more like, what's your Snapchat? What's your Instagram? And so realizing that trend over the years of when I was in college, I'm like, there's something that needs to be better. And so I feel like
it's a great point. Yeah. It wasn't possible 5 years ago, and we're changing. You ever see that series Black Mirror?
Yeah.
On social media?
Yeah.
That's like fun. That's
It's like, damn, I'm thinking it's a terrible world, but then I'm thinking, oh, that'd be kind of useful though.
one of our companies did
Social media scores over everybody's head as you go through it.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a place which is different. So you're right, that's the timing subject. But remember, we're all looking for investment. So it's not just about us knowing it, it's about us being able to demonstrate that to people that we're speaking with. Okay, let's hear the why. Let's hear the why now.
Matt Machete with
Matt, hit the button. It turns itself on.
okay, now it's on.
Yeah.
Matt Machete with Handyman. We are a geolocation platform app that connects contractors and homeowners right at their spot. So where they are, basically imagine Uber for contractors. The problem is it takes too long to get a service professional to your home. Travel time and marketing expenses drive up the cost of the project. And the more scattered the job, the more stressed out the contractors. That was the concept. We came up with this idea. There are other apps out there, but all of them are scheduling companies. The difference between us is we are on demand, right at this spot, something happened, emergency right now. And that's who we are.
Okay. Give me the value prop again, but just not reading it. Just tell me what you do.
Our app is very basic. You just turn on the app, select the service that
Tell me what you do for me. So you just met me. Just tell me what you do for me.
As a homeowner, we are
Yes.
targeting homeowners. So right now, let's say your garbage disposal is not working,
Yeah.
and that's a minimum $75 job to call any handyman or any company to come just because they're so far away to come to your spot. Maybe not right away, maybe tomorrow, maybe a week from now. But this is really a matter of 1 minute job because maybe something just stuck there and nobody wants to put their hand in. If there is a handyman right in that area, a plumber that you can reach in our app, press it, see who they are, see their rating, and they're just around the corner. They can just come right today, maybe after they finish with the other job, or maybe right away, and come and take that piece out for maybe $20.
Okay. And why is it important now?
Well, it is important. Before Uber, we didn't have this happening. Now this is of course happening to every industry. And it definitely is going to happen to our industry as well, in the contractings and fixing your issues. You know, home environment is getting more sophisticated. A lot of things that are being added to homes, and you will need more servicemen. Not everybody knows how to do all these little things to run a home, and homes are becoming more sophisticated to run. And sometimes you don't have the right tool. Let's say you don't have a drill or a right size drill. If you can have access to handyman around the area that have the right tool in their machine, you can just stop by within an hour or so to fix that issue for much less price.
Okay, so you're Uber for jobs that need done around houses,
That's
right?
right.
Where people can monetize it themselves. Okay, cool. So as far as a why now, Jerry, can you rank this from 1 to 10 on a why now?
Yeah, I like it. I'd say it's like.
Why now though? Not the
why
value
now?
prop. So it's not on the it's on the timing. So on the timing in the market, like if you had to rate this only on the timing, where would you rate
Okay,
it?
well, I actually had that problem just recently. So I'd say right now, I'd say it's an 8. I had that problem. I had to wait 2 days for someone to come along to fix the faucet.
Do you think it's more relevant today than 15 years ago? And do you think it's more relevant today than
I think it is
5
because
years ago?
people are like just technology.
The technology is available.
Before
relevant
because
The emergencies existed,
In
but-
other services,
Right.
they're already, it's becoming
Yes.
known in the collective that you can go to an app and find these things like that, like Uber.
We are
So
on
it's-
demand
that's
versus scheduling companies like TaskRabbit or Home Advisor or 10 others.
Expected, right?
They're all scheduling companies. We are on demand. Once we have contractors, we started with $19 per month for contractors with subscription list, and we moved it to $99. But I think the right price is $49, which all the
Sorry, he's going to grab some batteries.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which I think all the contractors can afford that because the cost is so low. Right now, if they want to just go door hanging, it will cost them thousands of dollars. If they use any other marketing media, it will cost them thousands of dollars, even coupons that they mail with money made out.
Okay, that's okay.
This
Anybody
is
see any problems with this from a timing perspective?
Well, I didn't want to be on the pro timing side. I think it's really good just because you can describe it as it's Uber for reasons. Like this is going to happen.
But there's
It's
no
going to
you can see the there's no sunny.
Right.
That's a big question.
So being able to do it right now, and there's already this interest, like I don't think you can do any better timing because you rely on your success.
Yeah.
But you're getting in hopefully before other people rely on it too. So
That's why we're rushing.
better.
Good stuff.
I think it's the good thing about it is that contractors, they want to use any medium to make money. Again, like I know that you have to like be on a niche, and I completely agree that you have to start from a niche. But again, the problem can be for a lot of different contractors. It can't be just, I mean, maid services. You have to like, the only maid services out there are the ones that you have to book, they have to, maybe if you, that's what I'm saying, it's like limiting yourself to one specific niche, even something like this.
It's good. You're saying it's good.
I said at the beginning, but I think his service could be for any contract.
Well, the way we have made it is very simple, but just
Yeah, but it's scheduling again. It's
Exactly.
not what he's saying.
it's not a schedule.
So a maid who just finished the job and maybe she has a
You're like Buddy Truck.
No, again, body truck you have to schedule it. No, it's different. We are
But Buddy Truck is on demand though, because if I go to like I picked up some stuff. We had the guys from Buddy Truck come through here, but Buddy Truck is like you click confirm and then a truck comes out and picks up your stuff and takes your money straight away.
Well, I can tell you that body truck can fit within our app because the way we have made it, just the structure, just by once you go log into the app as a homeowner, you see the service that you have to select. So once you click on that service, right now we have 15 services listed, which we're going to limit it to 5. But later this can go on and on to body truck, to driver, to many other things that can be by just pressing that touch.
I don't know. I see you as a similar. By the way, it's okay to be a similar service to other people doing it in a different demographic. It's okay to have somebody doing it within Maze and somebody doing it within picking up furniture and other things. But it's an on-demand economy whereby people who need stuff done around the house can bring people in. And I'm guessing there's very strong vetting and very strong security. I think you should really bring that in, because the challenge that Uber had at the start in all of their pitches was everybody was afraid of the vetting initially. Like, what if I get one of these weird guys in a black suit that looks like Reservoir Dogs and he's going to attack me? That wouldn't be cool. Taxi drivers are so safe and clean and everything else. So for you, I would say your why now, at least for me, is very much about the amount of security information that you can get to vet people within your on-demand economy. You're going to send somebody into my house, I want to make sure that person's vetted. I don't want to say $50. I want to make sure a vetted, safe person is going to say $50. So just bear in mind, I would when you do the why now is not just about, oh, there's a platform and there's technology, because the problem is it fits in for all of us, right? We can all answer the same question with why now. We have to learn something else. Yeah.
Going on to your point too, I would not focus on cheap, because that's not the pain. The pain you're hearing is like, I need it right now.
Yeah.
So you're underselling yourself.
I agree.
Well, we are going after licensed contractors only, and originally we were thinking about all handyman, but right now we're just going for licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, licensed.
Because of insurance or
because of the quality, because the quality is going to be involved with it, as well as we are starting with the rating of Yelp. We want to 5-star and up, and then we have our own rating. If it falls below 3.5, they have to. We cannot accept them anymore.
Yeah, and you can always add on. So like Uber started just dudes in black suits in a car, in a black car, right? And then they expanded it out to everyone else. So I totally agree with your point. This is not about saving money. I used Handy the other day, but I'm cheap. So I tried like a bunch of other phone numbers first, and then I'm like, you know what? Handy are safe. They'll come around. They'll turn up when they're supposed to. They'll leave the places they're supposed to. I get a service done properly. And by the way, it'll cost more, but it's worth the extra money for the convenience of what's being given.
Yeah, I mean, there's the expression you can do things fast, you can do quality, you can do cheap, but you can't do all three of those things. So you're fast and you're quality.
I like that actually. Yeah, fast, quality, cheap. But really focus on the safe as well. And focus on the fact that the reason that you chose only people who know what they're doing is because you want to make sure that those people are actually safe to have in people's houses. So you want to provide an on-demand economy for safe people in the houses. Sorry, you
No,
you're okay, cool. Aiton.
I actually do think you got one use case here that is a painkiller, actually. The painkiller is, holy shit, there's something breaking down in my house and the house is about to fall apart. You're almost like a medical patient at that point. At that point, you are a heart attack that's right there. And if you don't resuscitate them really fast, then they're going to fall apart, much like your house example in this case. That person will be willing to take anything on earth to be able to survive. Keep the house. That's a huge painkiller right there. The rest of them aren't even vitamins, but that particular use
That's
case.
called under emergency cases, which is one of our highlights for emergencies. I think we will change the whole industry. Emergency situations.
We're going to come back to pains and gains afterwards. I want to actually, you know what I want to do? I want to start, when we do pains and gains afterwards, let's start with you on the pains and gains, and we put them up here. And then
even go in like small groups and people can talk about it.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But I want to, we can take like 1 or 2 people at the start just so we can show everybody what to do, and then we'll go into small groups and do it. But I want us to take, right now, we're on a, I don't want to say on a superficial level, but we're on a, what's the timing, what about the people, what's the avatar look like? When we go to pains and gains, it gets very specific down to what makes your product work, what makes it better than anybody else, right? The specific features that lead to the benefits of it. I love it. But here's the good news. What you're hearing from everybody here is this is a pain. It's a pain that people have, they don't want to have to deal with, and you have a potential solution to it. We've got to work to it. Jerry, you want to have a go?
Sure. Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Jerry Kelly. I design jeans that make people look sexy and unique. And my brand is called Son's Denim. And I'm actively building a compassionate, free-spirited lifestyle fashion brand based around my signature look, which is unique. Patrick, my identifier. Thank you.
That was really cool. That was really good. Obviously, I'm not wearing his jeans, obviously. But I love the way you led. Like, what was your first line again?
I design jeans that make people look sexy and unique.
So he already said his avatar is people who want to look sexy and unique.
But how many people in this room don't want to look sexy and unique? Like, in our own way. In our own way. Like, it's cool because you immediately everybody wants to know what your product is.
Sure.
This is kind of my point earlier on, is you want to be able to explain the product in such a way, the product fit in such a way that all anybody wants to know is, oh, let me have a look at those.
Sure.
Because I want to see if it works. I want to see if it works, and if it works, I'm like, well, I'm down. And suddenly the price is not important. It doesn't matter now. He didn't say, I produce the lowest cost jeans that you can find that give you the ability to be able to look the best that you can do within the money that you have. You're saying, listen, I'm producing something whereby, assume it's not a crazy price, because I'm not using words like exclusive or elite or only for one person. So assume that it's affordable in some way, but I'm not going after afford, I'm going after amazing. That's cool. Why is the timing important, and who's your avatar? Let's go after your avatar and the timing.
So the timing, well, right now, a lot, I've noticed that denim is kind of very much the same, except for a few different washes. You can really, it's hard to differentiate the brand except for a small logo on the back pocket. What we have is a totally fresh new look on denim right now. And
why is that important now as opposed to 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Like, denim's been around for ages.
Okay, so I guess with the whole What's that?
You want to de-standardize jeans. Right now, all jeans look the same.
Oh, exactly. So, everything is very similar. So a lot of people want to stand out from the crowd these days because the whole world is just, there's so much stuff coming into you. I guess it's we're getting so much information on a daily basis. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along here. You want to personalize yourself. You want to stand out from the crowd, and yeah, I just think it's a good time now, personally. It's as good a time as any, right?
We need to quantify why is it important that these jeans are coming out today as opposed to 5 or 10 years time.
Well, I think if you look at like how women dress, like there's so much variety in the tops and like what they do, the colors and stuff. But the jeans all largely look the same. So if you're trying to add more variety on the lower half,
say it again.
You're trying to add more variety. You're trying to put the same variety like women put in their tops into jeans.
Yeah, I just want to give something that's different and unique, and it's. I tell people it's a totally fresh new look on denim, and I guess the timing now is because I guess I'm doing it now, and I know 5 years ago I kind of started, but I just think there's a need for variety. A lot of people, like, it started from the whole festival scene, the whole Burning Man scene, and a lot of people are. When I started going to Burning Man years ago, it was kind of really taboo. Now it's kind of hit this, it's kind of cool and hip. And
who's your avatar?
Typically 30 to 45 entrepreneurial, creative women with money.
Why?
Because a lot of they're not afraid to stand out from the crowd.
I'm with you. Did you say women? I think guys, like, seriously.
Well, guys and girls, but really more sales. Yeah.
Look at me. These are my best jeans.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
I think that's a very cool dream.
And Matt, just hold up a pair there.
Sure.
Just for a second.
So,
I actually didn't want you to say. So there's a couple of things really important about these. Firstly, they're sustainable. No animals are hurt while making the product. Really important. The jeans themselves are super cool. Like, and they're very funky and they're different and they're repurposed. So they take bits of denim and then put them together, like the ones you have there. Put it together.
So I tell people it's like a cross between Burning Man and rock and roll.
Yeah, right? So this stuff is fun, but it's also, it could be conservative if you're conservative, it can be sexy if you're sexy. But I think your product fit, we need to build it to a way higher message.
Sure.
I love the fact that you lead it in with saying, sexy, I totally agree with you. Sexy is not just women. Sexy is about guys looking good and jeans as well.
Not necessarily everybody wants to be sexy, and now it's like a little bit hipster, like hip, understated. Like I think your jeans are actually more like sexy. I thought you were making like Jennifer Lopez style jeans.
Sure, sure.
Like somebody with a, I would have worn. I mean, it depends on who your target is, but it's like a little bit of a fine line how you actually. Yours is more like a hippie.
Yeah, it's like the modern day twist in the 60s, 70s patchwork. Yeah,
So it's
kind
not
of
what you're saying is it's not sexy.
No.
That's not the word. No, I don't mean it's not sexy.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
wouldn't
the
know.
word.
I thought like it was like one of those tight jeans which has like some of the jeans they have like
Yeah, no, I don't mean cheesy sexy, but it's
So I mean, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that that I think your brand is more like bohemian, more like Burning Man style, which
It
is
is.
not sexy.
I guess you gotta see it on. You know,
No, but it's cool. It's the point is,
Cool,
what she's
yeah.
not saying is she's not saying it's not sexy.
No,
She's
it's
saying
cool.
it's
Right,
cool.
right.
It's just
Yeah.
you want to describe like what it's going to do for you. Yeah, and when you led with the immediate description
Sexy
of
men
the
don't
benefit
be sexy,
is amazing because you did what a lot of other people don't do. Most of the rest of us we lead in with our features. Like, what are the specific features that we're going to do? Features are boring. Nobody listens to features. They're polite to us with features.
Sure.
You want to lead with how you're going to help me. Now, the why we're going to get deeper into in the brand, which is why I'm not pushing too much back on the features. But you led with the benefits straight away. Awesome.
Cool.
But find out the right benefits for the right avatar. I'm not sure you have the right avatar for your people yet. I'm not.
Okay.
And the good thing in here, time.
Yeah, one thing I'd say, I do think going after women is a good instinct. Because, like, I mean, the reason.
Well, I'm actually doing guys and
Yeah,
girls. So.
I mean, navigating sports, I think, because, like, one story I always remember is, Roomba, the automated vacuum cleaners, they thought they'd be huge among single men because you don't have to do any work to keep your floor clean. And it completely flopped among that market because it turns out single men don't generally have a problem. They really want to go build. So, like, if the reason, I mean, I'll knock him because he knocked himself. The reason his jeans are boring is because he doesn't care. So you can't market.
I never said boring.
Not sexy. I do think it is a good idea to focus on marketing who doesn't care. Because it's like, yes, a lot of men out there are very badly dressed, and it would be great to dress them up better. But if they're not interested, you
No, but isn't this a mission though? Like, isn't it a cool mission? I wouldn't mind looking okay. I really wouldn't. Like, you can make it easy for me. It's just my hierarchy of priority. It's not maybe in the right place, but if you can make it easy for me by providing, so maybe there are a number of purposes here that you have to go away and you have to look at deeply. To Ty's point, like, is your market making women look sexy? Is your market making guys look and feel really cool within their age, but without them having to make too much of an effort? Is your market about creating an entirely new look which helps people be free of the convention? Is your market about saving the whales and the fishes with all of the crap that goes into the ocean? Or is your market that animals don't get killed because of your market? Like, you have to take all of that away before you even get close to the who's your avatar, what's your problem, is your problem solution a painkiller, what else is there? Once you get to that place, the great thing is you can already stand up purposefully and explain what your benefit is. You just need to move to a place where you really believe it, based on feedback you're getting from
And I'm not saying that there isn't a market there, because like, I mean, one of my last girlfriends just made me throw away all my clothes. She took me to a mall and bought me clothes because she didn't like anything I was wearing. I was totally fine. I thought that was great. Oh, okay. So I don't know if that's, I'm all for it, but like that's a much harder thing to go after, especially if
lot of
No, it's not close
really
to that.
cool and
Oh yeah, and
Yeah, no, if you
food
go to my
one
website, you see.
man too.
I know it's
Yeah.
generic. Obviously, there are guys out there who do put effort into it.
Yeah.
Go after them too, but it's big deal.
But women are easier, right? Because they spend more money on clothes and because
Yeah.
they're more conscious of how they look. Yeah, low hanging fruit. So it's about getting your favorite, your best avatar for where you are. Okay, that's really good. That's really good. We've started. I want to, with you, because we need to go back into, we need to look at all of the pains and gains for you, especially. Then let's move on. Rachel, you want to go next? Ethan, what did you want to add just before Rachel starts?
I was just going to say one small thing, which is I don't know your space that well, so I don't have my hypothesis on it. But what I do know is, looking around at the marketplace for jeans, there doesn't seem to be one brand I can come up with on the planet that covers the whole market at all. Even Levi's, for instance, only covers a certain portion of the market. It seems to me like I would want to start this one from like a competitive landscape standpoint of things. If you're trying to create a business and funnel into where there's no competitor that exists, and create those jeans. Otherwise, it might just become noise. Is the challenge rather than saying women or not. I don't know about women's jeans. I don't know anything. I'm wearing shorts. What the hell do I know? But the landscape might.
But
be
you're
a challenge.
aware though. You're also aware of.
I am, but I'm not the expert at all.
So what are you saying? You would do space and not everything?
I would look at the competitive landscape and see who's out there right now and see
I
how
have-
many
yeah.
gyms.
So I've been selling, for a few years.
Oh, okay.
So like it sells, you know what I mean? I just need like now I just kind of find or like that, and that who's kind of has been buying.
Not enough though.
Not enough.
So
I
we want
guess
to
my
sell millions of dollars worth, so we don't know yet. And the market validation and checking the competitors is
Yeah.
going to be huge. Because now we're not thinking, hey, we want to sell 100 grand's worth or 150. We want to sell $1 million worth.
Yeah.
Right? It's a hobby.
I didn't mean to disrespect your history.
No,
I
know.
would rather to say what I kind of hear is that there's different SKUs that kind of exist for different personas, different demographics, and therefore your brand, goes a little bit wide at that point instead of hammering one where there's just pulling all the things out there, and you can become that brand in that category. That's it.
I love it. And look, every one of us, I want us to be able to say, somebody says to us, how big is your market? It's exactly this amount of people. How many, tell me the 5 whys as far as why is your product really important? Boom, 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 boom. Are we a painkiller? We're 7 towards a painkiller because we do these 4 things within what we have. Like, that's where we want to try and get to. And then once you have that, that's when we nail it. Okay, cool. Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the founder of Mixalot. We're a software for event hosts to use to hold events where people can be paired with other people face-to-face based on their preferences. So it could be a dating event, it could be a business networking event, it could be a corporate internal event, it could be a hospital event. Our goal is to help people meet the people in the room that are useful for them to meet based on their interests.
Okay. It's really funny. So I've heard your pitch a few times now, and I've seen your software. Before I give a comment, what does everybody else feel? And we're now covering the 3 areas. We're covering the timing. Do we understand the problem solution? Do we understand fully what she does, what our software does? I know it's hard because we've heard a few now, but do we fully understand how impactful what she has is?
It's a software version.
Sure. So basically the pain point we're trying to solve is that if you're in a room in a networking event or conference and there's hundreds of people, how do you meet people? Do you just walk up to somebody who looks friendly and shake their hand? Do you try to insert yourself in a conversation? What if you're looking for a specific thing? I'm looking for sales and marketing people and I'm at a big conference. Okay, well, how do I know who they are? So what our software does is it actually pairs you, like go to table 5 right now to meet this person. It pairs you with people based on your preferences for who you're looking for. So everyone fills out a profile with preferences about what they're looking for. And the pain point we're addressing is to help you meet the people that are useful for you.
Yeah, it's a great scheduling software.
For me, if I was looking for people who are also into supporting people or whatever, I could fill out my profile and it would tell me which of the people here and then send them marketing. Is that what it is?
So there's a lot of sort of iterations we could make on what we're currently doing. What we're currently doing is actually running structured networking events where live you get a text telling you where to go. So we introduce you.
Think speed networking
Yeah.
or speed dating or anything like that where you have structured, scheduled places that you go, but not random, based on your likes and your needs.
Okay. I like it.
cool.
How do you get people to sign up? Like if I'm going to an event, how do I know everybody in the room is on your service?
Our client is the event host, so they purchase the product. The people at the event and getting people out to the event is their problem, not our problem. So we would be selling this to the conference organizer, the company event organizer, things like that.
I think it would be a good addition to the event, right? So you can have it as a kind of like de facto.
What she's done is really clever. They've actually tied the APIs of Eventbrite into their own software,
That's
so that
fantastic. And if let's say your product would be as a byproduct, so people can actually click on to add an extra information that when they go to an event, they know who it is. I actually really need that, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, somebody needs to do this. I'm so happy you're doing it.
I
Really?
really like that it's connector driven, so that you don't have to market why audiences. You just have to go after the host. So that's a lot easier on your part. Like marketing a lot less expensive. You don't need to reach mass audiences. You need specific people.
yeah, it makes it much easier to go after. What was that?
So I know we're in the same space and we're trying to solve the same problem. Is it, just clarify, if there's like a website, so with the host, so let's say I'm attending an extra Dojo networking event, I would have to go to Eventbrite or your website and opt in and fill out the profile, right? And then when I get to the event, I get like the text messages you were saying, go to table 5 or 3, something.
Yeah, so first of all, we are going to do an event with the Dojo in June, so when people show up at the event, they have to check in. That's the way it is currently. So if they have registered in advance through Eventbrite, their data is already in our system, and the person checking them in just checks them off. If they haven't registered, we collect a little bit of info, and then we communicate with them by SMS.
Okay. And is there, I believe there's already some like websites that do something similar to that where it uses where you go and opt in on the websites to fill out the profile to meet other people at these events. And that's what I noticed because I was looking back and thinking like, man, how can we solve this problem of creating real authentic interactions with people who are around you? And so I do see that huge problem and that obviously we're both trying to solve it, and I just feel like the going up and having to like check in and fill out a profile and all that.
But they're different. Here's what's really interesting about the two products is the solution, the problem in general is a human problem, right? Which is we've stopped interacting with anybody that we don't know directly, and actually trying to find people. We're going to random places to try and do a big roundabout way to get to someone who could be walking past us in the street. So it's like, how do we improve our human relationships? What's really interesting about hers and yours is that Rachel's takes an existing environment with an existing organizer and just manages it better. So it says it's a SaaS software. It's not really anything else. It goes to a company like a Microsoft, and it says to Microsoft, I'm going to manage your employees better. It goes to a Dojo and says, there's 40 people in the room here, let's manage the meeting of those people better, rather than a networking event, or in a conference, rather than have people all go in and go, hey, I'm Brian, I do such and such. It says, hey, Brian's looking for 2 web developers. Cool. 2 web developers will find me and they'll be meeting for me. Your software is about solving the human interaction problem in general. So everybody, anywhere, when it's beacon related, wherever you are, it's serendipitous, and it means that as you're going down the street. So it's structured versus spontaneous.
And actually, I like what you said, because at first they didn't get it, but if you could tell me like the people in the room who like the same shows I did,
right?
Whatever, that would make on the fly meetings much easier. To be like, oh hey, we both like the show. You make that connection easy.
Yeah, with Blue, because one of our growth strategies is going to event hosts and doing that, but Blue isn't just event based, so whatever event you go to, you can use.
That's what I'm saying, they're different. They're different types of things. One is a SaaS software.
Subway,
right?
And you
Yeah, what is the SaaS
How do we
software?
make this? How's the feedback in your product? Have you deployed it anyway?
Yeah, it's been really positive. We've run about 35 events so far. We started in the dating space, and we just started moving to business networking recently.
Yeah.
But
Ethan's got a question as well. I'll tell you, like dating, it's no brainer. Like, how many weird people do you meet? And like in a group of dating things, like it reduces the weirdness for men and women because you can say, I like this type of person from this type of place, with this type of area, with this blah blah blah. blah. I don't have to have 14 meetings now. I can just have 4.
I just have a thought, which is, I actually think there's another problem in there that may exist, which is a good thing. Not a problem from a bad side. Problem is an opportunity to solve what you mean by this, which is for the event organizers, they have a responsibility to give you better targeted demos in the crowd. In the future, the trajectory of this thing, you're going to be going to these things and being like, who are all these people who have nothing to do with what I want, who are at this event? This is nonsense. I only want people who exactly fit my profile on this thing. So there's a data gap that exists here for event organizers to be able to get the exact right people in the room, and by providing them that data, you can monetize it as well and make a lot of money by being able to give the data that gets the exact right people into the room so everyone's happy at the event and therefore willing to pay more for the event too, probably.
There's a big play, like this whole space is a really interesting space because nobody has ever thought about the data, to your point, of everybody who's around you all the time, and there's nothing smart enough to capture it all. And I think there's going to be 20, 30 huge players in this space who are all going to be working on different levels of being able to make data relevant and breaking it down and curating it and then giving it to people so that we can do it. Okay, back to the areas here. Firstly, I think we're both agreed timing. It's good timing for actually both in this space, makes a lot of sense. If we're looking at, we're going to do the 5 whys. Obviously, market size is huge, we know that. Testing, timing, problem solution, painkiller. Okay, let's go through the 5 whys. Why is your software important?
I think it's important because we have all these opportunities to meet people, but we don't always have the way to take advantage of meeting the right people. And so it takes these environments we're already in and gives you higher value for being in them.
Okay, why is it important to meet the right people?
Because whatever you're looking for, whether it's a date or a employee or something, it's if you can find it in an hour as opposed to in 10 days, it's going to be more effective for you.
Why do I need to find it in an hour?
Well, we're all busy. We don't have a lot of time, so everyone wants to get everything done faster and more efficiently. We don't want to waste your time.
So why are we all too busy to find this important?
Because we live in the 21st century. I don't know. We all have cell phones and life moves fast these days.
But we want to look, like, is it just a question of that we're all busy and that's the problem that you're solving?
Well, no, I think it's also that these are opportunities you would miss entirely. You wouldn't actually, like, just for example, like we ran a business networking event 2 weeks ago. I'm looking for a salesperson. He was my first match. Now I hired him. He's working for me, right? Like because I was looking for salespeople and he was looking for startups. Would I have ever met him? Maybe not. I'd probably still be searching on like Indeed or something for a salesperson.
So maybe the time constraint of the event. You only have 1 or 2 hours in the event, and you're not going to.
It's really interesting, yeah, because I'm trying to get to what your big value prop is. Is it your big value prop that I'm meeting more people, or is it that you're saving time that I really need to have saved?
I think it's getting more effective meeting, more efficient meeting. What is the point of people going to whatever meeting they're going to?
Which is time, right?
No, I don't think time has anything to do with it. They're taking the time to be in that room and time to available. What they're doing is they're trying to meet the people they need to meet. There's 500 people in a room. I only need to meet 10 of them.
And you don't even.
So it's effectiveness. It's an effective.
But effectiveness of our time.
Of your, no, you're saying time like you're saving time, but it's effectiveness of what is the goal of going to this meeting. You're trying to meet this person, this person, this person. You're trying to get this accomplished. Instead of having to weed through all this shit in order to get what you're looking for, it's instantaneous. I know exactly what I'm looking for in this room.
I think there's a little bit of time savings on there, but more importantly, you filter through the mud if you know you got to the
events, like I was in Web Summit last year, and they actually have their own app. So the minute you buy the tickets, they give you the app, and you can actually read the profiles of people, connect with them, send them messages. So when you're at the event, because it's like 50,000 people there, so you know from beforehand, you already have the contact. So all these big events actually have this. What I like is that she's doing this for smaller meetups. So if there's 30 people, because what are the chances of there are all these mixers. You go and you don't even know who to approach. You just have to. You're lucky if you're bumping into somebody who has something in common with you. You have to go to, I don't know, 10, 15 of them. So I completely actually it's really good, but I think we should focus more on smaller entities because the bigger ones, I think they give you the app. I mean, any big events that I've been to, you have the app which has everything on it. They're so sophisticated, it's like incredible. I mean, I still have my website.
Not all of them though. A lot of expos that you go to have no ability. Like how many times?
I can jump in and just say that I don't think we can do that financially. We need to go to larger events.
Yeah, and you go to South by Southwest.
We provide a lot of services wrapped around it because it's essentially running a live event. We monitor it. The value proposition for us on smaller events is really not great.
Well, I mean the numbers.
Well, if the technology was perfect and never had a bug, it wouldn't.
Okay,
But
so
maybe we'll get there
be
someday.
automated, you'll be out of-
It is automated, but I mean, it requires a host. I mean, it just requires there is some infrastructure involved in producing the events.
Because the thing is, like, if you're just doing it for big events, then again, it puts this at the mercy of the event host. And actually, on another thing, what he was saying that it kind of like gives you the option to monitor. It actually can cause problem for the event holder because like they're gonna like sell 1,000 tickets to just random people to come here and we have to go because maybe we meet somebody. If from beforehand I knew that out of 1,000 people, only like 3 of them are actually the people, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go. Actually, from the host side, this is something that you're filtering against them because then now they have to make more conscious decisions of who's gonna participate in their event. Rather than if you leave it up to people like peer to peer, then we just want to be there to be instead of connecting and going for a coffee, then in one event in 1 hour you can actually meet 10 people. So I honestly thought actually you're providing this service for individuals for like when people are going to the same event how to find each other. Because if you're marketing the big event holders, they either have their own app or I think if I was an event holder, I wouldn't want your service because then I have to pay more attention who's gonna come and participate in my event rather than, selling all those tickets and see, okay, we have this, you know what I'm saying?
I think actually I'm not sure, but I believe that if the Web Summit would rather outsource all that stuff if they could, like South by Southwest, Coachella, Burning Man, like they don't want to deal with that crap. If
They all have it. They're like such big corporations. They have so much money. Actually, at Web Summit, there were like few apps that launched in Web Summit. It's a very good place to launch because you have so much audience around you. And one of them was like not the app to connect, but to like it was like a WhatsApp between the attendees to what to do after hours and where to meet because a lot of stuff happens actually after hours, after the summit. But what I'm saying is that you would think that you don't have that big audience, but there is a huge amount of people who are desperate to meet the right people. Even from the investors. I mean, investors, they come and stand there and they're like, all these people, and they don't even get to get.
Interesting point, actually.
Yeah.
You go to an event, you have everybody's logged in through LinkedIn. You have, you suddenly told, hey, these are 4 people that you should meet.
Yeah.
This is where they are.
Yeah.
Cool. I meet my 4 people. I go home.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are potential integrations and ways that we can sort of pivot and further develop the product that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, just see it from a different.
Yeah. I mean, right now the product's great, but it's formed into a more of a speed networking, dating type format where you go to specific tables or areas. But you could just say, hey, you know what? If you want to meet 3 people, Brian, just go to the green area, go to the blue area, and then you don't need to turn up. They don't need to turn up. The organizer doesn't need to do anything. Brian's going to go away with a really good experience.
And because that's an investor event, the investors who come to these meetings, they all have certain niches that they're looking for, and they want to get pitched. I mean, can you imagine how much pitches they get, like elevator pitches, like everybody comes up to them, oh, I have this. And like out of all of those, maybe even one of them is an area that the guy has specialty. So they can't even help you. They can listen to your pitch, they have to be polite, and it's fine. But even from the investor's point, or any, I mean, I'm just talking about our, let's say, circle of like entrepreneurs and investors. But in anything, you can actually create these connections without even having to have to deal with those hosts or the event holders.
Sorry, Jose, you said.
So that problem that you're explaining on dealing with like the hosts, that's like with Blue. I know you mentioned like it's not for. So I see Blue right now, like you said, a lot of big events are creating their apps just for people to use. But how many apps as a user are we going to download as consumers to go to each events? Where Blue is a universal app that you can take anywhere, any event, and simply turn it on. That gives you a filter of everyone in the room of
That's what I'm saying. That's a good. I mean, I think you guys are kind of like similar but different. But you are more like generalized, so it's kind of like I don't know how to filter people based on LinkedIn. You said, but I mean, not everybody's LinkedIn maybe as
it's very. And here's what we also all got to be careful of, right? Is take Expert Dojo. So if somebody walked in here and said, "Hey guys, I'm at Series B, but I'm really looking for investment. I know you guys have got the best investment in the world." There's a temptation for us to say, "Cool, you're at Series B, you've got loads of money. Can't be that hard. Like, how much harder is Series B than Series A?" But it's not our space. It's not what we're amazing at. We're amazing at creating cage fighters in the early stage area. And we just got to be super careful. I'm not saying we shouldn't expand, we shouldn't go into lots of different areas, but be amazing in the area that you're in. Like the cool thing about it, and it doesn't mean that you're separating it in areas, but I like what you say, which is, my area right now is within speed networking within events. Sure, we can add on a separate segment later on, whereby we can push it away from tables and go to beacons, but that's our space. And we're going to stick with the small conference providers, which I don't think is a bad idea actually, because she'll build up loyalty, and then we're going to go to the bigger ones once we've got a little bit of traction and people can see that we're really good. With you, man, you're a communication app for everybody, everywhere. You walk down the street, you have your beacon on, you see there's 4 people around that are actually relevant to the things that you're looking for. Ching, 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 ching. It's just different.
But like you said, I can't be everywhere. I gotta be focused. And the focus is people looking to meet other people at events as well.
So I don't know if you can see it in your presentation, but
I can see.
just hang out.
I know.
What do you think? 3 comments with just 2 words. For his jeans, I think the word that you're needing is probably groovy, because it sets that time in the 60s and the 70s with the patchwork is more groovy, and it's kind of that kind of day. I think the word that we were looking for to describe what she's doing is efficiency. It needs to be more efficient. That's why we the time includes what we're looking for the whole night is efficiency. I think that's the word. To her comment about people just scanning over the top and just nitpicking what they want and coming out of it, I think what she produces alleviates that. Like this weekend I had an incident with myself, and I was walking down and I met my new neighbor. He's working on a car. He's put together a kit car. And I stopped and I talked to him and I asked him, I said, "Are you aware of certain places that can give you the kit car kits?" And he said, "Well, I want to do it by hand, and I want to do this because I can update it." And so we started talking, and he said, "Because I'm a computer programmer, you know that's what I've been looking for." So I went back to my place, got my
non-disclosure agreements. Came back, showed him the provisional and the invention that we're applying for. He wants to come to work. He also knows molders, and he also knows how to start up with the breadboard to make sure that the model works. So that's my other step, is progress. That only happened because I kept talking to him. I didn't glance over him. I didn't just thinking about what's on the web, what's this. I talk to people, and I just strike it on conversation. And so the thing is with her mixers or the app that she has, they need to keep that open, that when people decide to join or to come aboard on those things, you're there to talk and meet people. If you're just there to nitpick over people, go back to your personal way of doing that. But you can't take that human element out of it, because you never know what somebody possesses.
I like it. Thanks, man. Good to have you back from Miami. Great call, groovy.
Yeah, I like it.
It's groovy, man. Ethan, you might as well take the mic. Because you're next anyway.
Yeah.
Is this okay volume-wise? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to do it. I'll do mine in a second. I just had one thought though, which was building off your last comment. I think for your business, it almost seems like you want to figure out the future trajectory of this thing because of events in general. Because inevitably, if it becomes data intensive, let's take like Expert Dojo for example, and nobody in the room is, and it's just pragmatic breakdown of value at the end of the day. People like being an Expert Dojo on a daily basis because we're all here, and we like having the energy of having starts. We like having you guys around always, and we like being around here, the startup energy, right? If we could just have a series of meetings where we could take our 1 hour with you and then know that we had a 1 hour meeting separately, knew that it would be very transactional, but there's other value that exists to certain events. And in this case, the value of being here is entrepreneur energy and therefore motivation and keeps you your goals and all that stuff. Not every event is like that. So at some point, this could just become Tinderland, right? Events could become Tinderland where if you pre-match, you don't need to go into these events because some of these events don't provide additional value, right? If you're just going to look for somebody to partner, you know, those events might fall down. And so positioning your business around events that may inevitably fall down, probably better to look for business for events where there's additional value. So big conferences, for instance, I'm sure you know this, but big conferences, for instance, where there's speakers, where there's additional value brought to the table that you couldn't just get one-to-one relationships, and that's what the sign is probably.
Yeah, I mean, we actually don't, currently the way we do it, we don't pre-match people. You don't know who you're going to meet till you get there, so there is no like I don't like the way that person looks, I'm not going to come. There is none of that, and because actually we do it based on who's present, not on who's registered. So it is a little bit of a mystery, like you come and find out who you're going to meet. But again, that could be an iteration later in some environments where it's useful to pre-match people.
Okay, cool. It's you coming.
I feel like I should have made a comment before I go. I'm just putting myself up for fire.
No.
So none of you guys, at least as far as I know, I guess you could be down the line, are our target consumer, our target paying customer, or avatar for that matter. Our avatar, I'll get to that in a second, but our target market is local businesses, small businesses, predominantly brick and mortar, although it can be digital as well. But the real context is that local businesses are getting crushed. So 50% die within the first year, 95% within 5 years. So we might do a little bit of why here, but they're getting crushed because they can't get enough consumers and they can't get the right consumers through the door, which means they can't get enough margin. And the problem is that all the options that exist out there are dilutive. So we're a mobile app that enables them to present the context of their business, why they're created, why their name is what it is, the person behind the business, and why they're an active member of your community. And enables them to offer trials to you as consumers and users to try out their businesses, to discover local businesses and the context behind them, and bridge, essentially be a matchmaker app to get you into the doors of businesses that you'd like to support.
If I was going to ask you to do it in 10 seconds, just 10 seconds, the value that you bring to the market that you have, and nobody knows what it is, what would you say?
To the merchants specifically.
Just to what you do, to what the company does. But you do it within 10 seconds.
Yeah, we match local businesses with the most profitable customers out there and show them return on investment.
Okay, I mean, look.
You want excitement? Is that what you want?
No, but that was good. Like, that's really good. We match local businesses with the most profitable customers out there. Everybody's going to come with that next statement, which we want everybody to say after a company, which is, how do you do that? So how do you do that?
Is that an actual question?
Yeah, so how do you do that?
Sure. So we're local to local. We match local people who either live locally or work locally with local businesses. The people who either live locally or work locally are around more often, and therefore have a higher ability, higher potential to return to that business, and they want to genuinely support their communities and become familiar with those businesses. But we realize that everyone is busy. So we provide the content in there and the backgrounds of these businesses. We provide trials, free trials into those businesses, invitations to come into the business and try their product to bridge any gaps that exist.
Okay, so from a timing perspective, out of 10?
I mean, it's good timing because brick and mortars are dying
right
now. And people, like, it goes back to, I think, something we said, it's like people do want to help. They do want to support, there's only so much effort they're willing to put in. So, like, if you have a tool that says, here are new businesses, why don't you try them out? And you can connect that. I think there are a lot of people like that. I think, it's like, obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind is restaurants, which I'm sure a lot of people think as well. It's like, I want to try someplace new. What's a place that I can try out? And if I go to this app and say, well, I'm going to go to this, can you connect me to this restaurant? That brings customers to a new place, which is what they struggle with, and it also gives people a chance to support their community and also keep their curiosity.
That's cool. When myself and Ty first met, I said to him, I don't believe anybody cares. I don't believe there's anyone out there who gives a shit about anything whatsoever. I think it was a Monday morning. But you've turned me over now, because I do believe a lot of people care. And actually, the more I look at TV and what's going on around the world, I think the more we care, the more we wake up. It's not that I felt people didn't care. I didn't feel people were awake to being responsive enough to do anything about it. If you can see the difference between both. But I believe we are waking up, and I think if you're I'm going to tag on to what you say by saying that if your platform can wake us up, it's going to be very popular. If it can't wake us up, it's going to struggle. Is that a fair tag on to what you're saying? Like, we have to. Your content is more important than anybody else's content here.
I agree with you, and I think, present environment notwithstanding, the grim picture that kind of needs to be painted is we don't want to wake up in the communities in which we live in and work in and land in chain land, where it's nothing but chains around us, and that's the garbage that we have to eat or use moving forward. That's kind of the ugly picture that has to be painted.
Okay, love it, that's cool. We're going to do one more, just for shy, and then we're going to have a break, and then we'll come back afterwards, and we're going to go through, for these ones here, we're going to run through the gains and the pains when we go through yours, and then we break everybody into groups on before, okay? So don't worry, this is the last one. I know it's been a long session. Has it been useful so far?
Great.
Just hearing everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay,
What's up, everyone? Chai Forrest. I'm the founder of Hacking Hollywood TV. Hacking Hollywood TV is the social video channel for filmmakers. It's an online community and channel for filmmakers and fans to come together and connect using live video. We're building a smart TV app so you can go through and watch filmmakers live stream throughout their entire production process as they're shooting a film. And this is creating filmmaker discovery. So we built a filmmaker engine, a discovery engine, so you can search and discover filmmakers around the world as they're doing projects. And then on the back end, we're building an online movie marketplace. That's Hacking Hollywood TV.
Okay. Did everybody get that?
I got the last part I didn't understand.
Okay.
But the whole first part was genius.
It's a social video channel for filmmakers.
Yeah.
It's Twitch TV for filmmakers.
The thing that popped in my head was people, I know it's not the same thing, but like there's a lot of people just get filmed playing video games. And they're it's this, but still it's huge. Like people really vast. So that to me sounds genius, but the second part I didn't
It's the same, that's the back end of it. It's basically once filmmakers build fans and they keep following, then distributors could see their following and we could build out an online marketplace on the back end of it. But I probably shouldn't even talk about that until I get the traction with the filmmakers and the fans interacting. We're building a community, that's the key thing.
Why is it important for filmmakers and fans to interact?
It's important because it creates discovery and there's a network effect. If one filmmaker ends up getting a lot of fans, once the film fans are on the platform, they can start discovering other filmmakers that they may not otherwise discover.
Okay, so you just answered the second why, which is like, why is discovery important? So discovery is important because filmmakers can discover other fans, right? So why is it important for them to be able to discover other fans? Filmmakers.
It's your lifeblood. You have to have fans. That's your funding. That's who's going to share your content, your trailer. Building a community of fans is the best.
Is it your funding though? Like, is that the big pain point? Because when we first met, like your big pain point was filmmakers could not get investment on the current channels that they were working through, right?
Yes.
For me, those 4 whys that we came through is not the direct route to investment. It's good to have fans, but fans are not necessarily the people who are going to invest in the movie. They might be the people who pay to go to the movie or buy the t-shirts, and 1 or 2 of them might be potential investors, but most of them don't fit into the investment field. The place that movie investment comes from is a whole different place. So,
why is it so hard to raise money for films right now?
Well, that's a different one.
That's a good question. I think that's it. Why is it hard to? I don't think it is hard to deliver. To raise money, it's hard to make money on films. A lot of people invest in film, but they don't make their money back. And the reason why is that film doesn't get traction, that no one knows that film exists. A film can end up at Sundance and even get a distributor, but the distributor is going to look at that filmmaker's social media and see that they don't have any followers, and that film is not going to go anywhere. And the distributors are looking at the filmmaker's fan base to see how much traction this filmmaker can get. The director now is the new celebrity. The filmmaker is there's so much weight put on the filmmaker's name, so the filmmaker has to build a robust fan engagement around their projects. And it's not just about the specific film they're doing, it's about the whole arc of their career. So how do you start?
So is there a number? Is there a number as a filmmaker of fans that I should have around my project?
1,000 true fans around every filmmaker, minimum, that will spend $100 a year on a t-shirt, on funding a project, going to a screening. That's a minimum, 1,000 true fans, which doesn't sound like a lot, but those 1,000 true fans that will go to every screening, will share your trailer, will go to bat for you.
So you're not looking for fans. You're looking for loyal investors, loyal local investor fans.
So wait, I mean, it sounds like your service helps new artists build credibility.
Hollywood TV, it's the filmmaker channel. It's not the film channel, it's the filmmaker channel. It's putting the you in YouTube. It's putting the filmmaker, the maker in the filmmaker. It's not based around the films, it's based around the filmmaker.
Putting the cherry on the pie. It's funny. I feel we need to, everybody here knows more or less what you're doing and what you're building, but I just feel it's not as direct as the problem that exists today is that we can't get a handy person in our home really simply with a minimum of hassle in like 10 minutes. We provide the service that will allow you to do that. Like, we want to get to that place with you on your product fit, And right now it's in a more muddy area, which is we have filmmakers who need to have more fans, but they also need to have more investment. And the fans do somehow equal the investment, but it's not a straight line from one to the other. You almost want to be able to say that as a filmmaker, if you come on our platform and you can get 4,000 fans, you have a higher likelihood of being able to raise $300,000 to finance your next movie.
Yes.
So filmmakers who come on our platform and maximize the fan base on the platform generally raise in the region of $300,000, $200,000, $300,000 through those fans. Like, that's what you want to say. And then as a filmmaker, I go, cool, I want to be there because I need to raise $300,000 for my next movie. Right? Are you thinking
I
of
think it's just, if you're a new artist, you have to build credibility. And so having a place where it's like, 'cause even if it's 100, and just having being able to say, look, there are people who are willing to spend money on you, gives you more credibility than somebody who doesn't have it.
But to your point, doesn't YouTube do that already?
Well, YouTube is, I mean, there's millions of videos added every day. So, like, growing in that market is very hard, whereas if there's a boutique, I can see the value in that.
But how much value do you see? Like, we all like it, but how much value? Do you see the value that as a filmmaker, and you hate doing anything else other than making films, like you're going to spend time putting your profile on a platform, adding your stuff, getting fans, bringing them through. You see it that much value that IDMB doesn't give, or that YouTube doesn't give? Celia, hang on a sec, Celia, just jump in.
Just the thing that, filmmaking is such a collaborative effort, producer, director, and the writer as well. So unless this filmmaker is all three, I don't know how a producer would feel,
It's the lead filmmaker, whoever's directing the project.
The producer works harder, if not harder than
And that will be shown when they're live streaming throughout the production process, and that's on that filmmaker's channel. And a filmmaker works with different producers throughout their career. So let's say, a director.
But actually, to be fair, like this happens on Indiegogo anyway. Like if you go to Indiegogo or you go to somewhere to raise money for a movie, like you all go there. The filmmaker probably is the one who arranges it. He gets everybody else involved. You make your video, you raise your money, you do your stuff. It's for the movie. Like everybody knows that, right?
No, usually, well, it depends. A filmmaker is usually all three. The writer, producer, they're all in one. But then, then you have others that are just specifically a producer and specifically a director. And that's where I'm gray.
Is your app a kind of like a behind-the-scenes look at how the process is done to the superfan?
That's a feature of it to engage the fan. It's live video. I mean, no one would have thought that Twitch TV, you could actually build a platform where people would sit around playing video games all day, live streaming, talking about it, and now it's $1 billion. And no one, when they started it, no one would even, none of the video game developers wouldn't take their phone calls. Now they're coming to them. This has become the place to promote a new game. This is the place for fans to engage with the gamers. It's a whole new market.
But I think the difference is the amount of gamers versus the amount of filmmakers. It feels like you're promoting directors, because I feel like the general population is more in touch with who is in this movie. I think that what you're doing is really good. I just think that you've narrowed it too much. I think, I think it's also for talent. I think if you can combine it all and create a platform where you have your true fans that open it up to the actual talent, and then on the back end, put it all together so that you can go to raise capital and say, I've got these people, and they're already in communication with their fan base, so we can see the 2 million people that are going to go see this movie immediately. I think that equates to raising capital to finance something more than having something directed to filmmakers, because I think the general population doesn't know who the director is.
When you say talent, you mean
Actors.
So having the actors be on the channel, having and connecting.
Well, so
off where you're like, this team can keep putting out content. Whereas if you're just doing filmmaker, then you're creating and the stars of the record. But basically you're saying, oh, it's this one person, and that's not good for, because especially now, we're very big on community type things. So like, the team, to both of their points, everybody gets credit.
What would be a good way to say that team instead of the word filmmaker then, or director? Like, how do you encompass a film crew?
You don't suck with that guy if you want a good word.
Creators channel. Because you're all creators.
Okay.
Yeah.
What she was saying about the branching off, it's like the rooting of a tree. Once the tree goes into the ground and it starts to branch out, and it has like your tentacles or your root system, there's more exposure to the earth. It can take nutrients. And that nutrients is your fan base bringing in something to your project. So when she says that, that's a good idea. But you don't want to just narrow it to the directors. I don't think.
Yeah, so I like this creators.
Yeah, it's not. It's for It's for films and filmmakers, and so however that's best worded. It's not that a producer couldn't be on there talking about their project.
It's a really cool idea.
Yeah, but if I just say the word creator, then that becomes like Patreon, where anyone who's drawing, like, how do you define it to this is film?
You choose, but when you leave, what we're trying to say is don't narrow it. Because when you narrow it, because when you market something, you're putting a label on it. And if you label it, people are just going to, I've heard that label.
Okay.
That's what they're going to identify with. Because your director is still the creator of it. Or he's at some point, because they're all intervals of the creation that it takes. But when you spearhead and have him showcase it and highlight it, we know that you're going to be getting, top billing.
Yeah, and you don't want to leave people out because I don't know much about films, but like, you got Cameron, you got the writer, you got the talent. There's a whole bunch of people in it. And if you're just celebrating the business, a lot of other people are going to feel screwed over and left out, which means you're creating negative emotions right off the bat.
And this is gold.
It was never intended to be like only, I guess, it's taking it off of the actual film project and putting the story, the journey on the film. I'm saying the filmmaker, but it's obviously it's not just one person. So it's the crew, it's the the creativity that happens during that process is what's actually, it's really interesting. That's why people love all those bonus features and DVDs that we don't have anymore. This is kind of making a modern way to do that.
Yeah, so I think we all like what you're doing, but yeah, just be careful about making sure that you're celebrating the team as opposed to an individual.
And use the team, because like to your point on all of the routes that are going out, you want all of these people posting everything. Like everybody pushes a project up and gets more fans. If the actress has got 1,000 fans and such has got 5,000, everybody pushing all their fans in. I don't know why I always kind of end up with the money. I feel that like the biggest, well, when it comes to your questions, I know you have a point to make as well. But I know I always feel that it ends in the money somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can tie it where to get everybody engaged, say look, generally if you can get 100,000 fans or 50,000 fans or 20,000 fans, and everybody can actually do it through these different areas, because neither Indiegogo nor any of the other crowdfunding platforms allow you to really use everybody else's power, right?
Right.
It's just one person doing it,
Exactly.
and you push it out, then you use a bunch of third-party platforms to make it up and get it out. But if you can have everybody there all working towards the movie and using all of their contacts and pulling them in, you got something powerful. That was really cool. Hey, sorry, what were you going to say?
I guess it's kind of off topic, but the Hacking Hollywood, all of it, it sounded to me like you were heading down the path of being a site for aspiring filmmakers. A lot of what gets watched on YouTube is, I see people making all kinds of, camera rigs and things that do it yourself, getting started in the film business. And that Hacking Hollywood kind of led me to think that that's the world that you were heading down. And it doesn't sound like it is at all. So then I feel like there's a disconnect between how to actually, like what you're
The hacking part is actually inspired by growth hacking,
Right.
and so that's using all of the available channels you can, and so using whatever technology is available, if it's social video, live video. And I'm actually now heavily, since having watched the Facebook Developers Conference this past week, how do I build this community into Facebook? How do I use that 2 billion users, and how do we identify who the filmmakers are and who the potential fans are, and tie this in and leverage, how can I make this part of something that's already really successful? And not have to get everyone to come here. I go to where everyone else is and then offer a way for, Facebook has a new payment system. If we could use their payment system to trickle, to raise funding for a film, rapid fire, that would be amazing. Instead of having to come to our platform, we're going to them and building out this community using Facebook, live video, and using Facebook.
You're teaching a growth strategy for filmmakers.
Yes, but consolidating into one hub.
So your taglines would be really interesting in your product fit. We help filmmakers raise money by growth hacking the system as it stands. Like, you just have to be very clear as to what it is they're going to benefit from it. Because just getting more fans may engage them, may not, but generally it takes them a long time to do it. But if they know it's money, like I know 10 filmmakers tomorrow who will do anything to get money. And if they can go onto a platform that will help them have a better chance, it's really cool. Okay, that was awesome. So why don't we take a 20-minute break? That's enough, right? Start again at, let's say 30 minutes. Start again at 2:40. And then at 2:40, we're going to go directly into gains and pains, and then we're going to cover desired outcomes as well. It will be good. Thank you so much for what we've done so far. That was awesome. That was good.
Ryan, question for you. I've parked downstairs in the garage.
Yep.
Is it cool to leave it in there, or do you know, or is it better off? Is there any other places around?
Take it out and then take it back again.
Okay.
Half the people go under the barrier, but just take it out and take it back again, and that way.
When you say half people go under the barrier, what do you mean?
You just borrow some.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So otherwise it gets expensive.
Yeah.
It's going to cost like $17 to.
Okay.
There's another car park just up the road, right? Just for the future, for right off.
So I aligned the camera back.
Right in front of. Oh yeah, right by the Civic Centre. You know the Civic Centre? It's on Main Street. I got Main Street. As you come out of here, turn onto the Rand is right. How do you describe actually? Did you come in on Colorado or did you come in on Broadway? So when you come out on Broadway and you go down 4th Street South.
Okay,
and
4th
then,
Street South.
Yeah, and then that brings you, you go past the tent.
Okay.
A little bit past the tent. It's the next turn. But actually that's the car park in there.
Okay. There's no particular name for it, it's just next to the Civic Centre.
Yeah, but it's really easy. Like you literally come out on Broadway. As you're turning out on Broadway, you're not leaving on Broadway. You're leaving on 4th Street.
Okay, so leave on the 4th Street exit.
Yeah, and then you turn right, which you have to anyway. You go straight across the 10.
Okay.
But honestly, no, you don't even need to look. It's an hour and a half free in here.
Yeah.
So if you just take it out of here and then take it back in again, the next hour and a half will be free.
Okay.
And then I'll show you the next place to go to. It's just a monster. So in our own
and then she's the worst thing. It's got to be
building and offering.
It's very
So you actually launch something.
And that wasn't me as a manipulator, just the subject is very.
Yeah. Call center goes into your platform. You're able to take orders from e-commerce, use the offshore.
Everyone has Irish.
Say later on, you're no longer in competition will switch away on every
So if you don't have the infrastructure to do it, you're gonna do that.
That's good. So yeah, so I sent you the